April 26th meeting of the Senate Finance Committee will come to order. We have a quorum, and we have two bills on the agenda today. The first one is Senate File 5266 with Senator McEwen, Omnibus Labor Supplemental Appropriations Bill. Senator McEwen, welcome to the Senate Finance Committee, and go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members. It is an honor today to present to you Senate File 5266, the Senate Labor Finance Bill. This bill is a culmination of the hard work that members, staff, working Minnesotans, and advocates have invested this session and throughout this last year. Article 1 of this bill includes account transfers and appropriations to help our agencies do the valuable work they do and to fund the provisions of this bill. Article 2 contains combative sports language updates from DLI. Article 3 includes updates requested by the Bureau of Mediation Services. Article 4 contains updates to the Public Employee Labor Relations Act, reflecting significant work from labor advocates and stakeholders to improve PELRA in Minnesota. Article 5 contains Senator Pappas's bill that updates the Earned Sick and Safe Time law we passed last year, reflecting collaborative work between DLI, businesses, organized labor, and other stakeholders to improve the bill. Article 6 contains a section of my bill that creates safety standards on the installation of underground telecommunications infrastructure near other underground utilities. It also contains Senator Pappas's bill making sure all employees have access to records that employers keep on them, Senator May Quaid's bill to protect youth who are featured in content creation, and Senator Gustafson's bill to protect workers who are exposed to lead in their workplaces. Article 7 includes language from DLI updating the Contractor Recovery Fund. Article 8 includes my bill to effectively restore collective bargaining rights to employees of the University of Minnesota who are prevented from exercising labor rights by statute. Members, I am committed to fighting for working Minnesotans and ensuring that everyone in our state have the protections and support they need to lead healthy and dignified lives. I thank the countless community members, testifiers, and workers who advocated passionately for the provisions in this bill. It is my belief that this bill puts the people of Minnesota first. Colleagues, I ask for your support to pass Senate File 5266.
Thank you, Senator McEwen. You have a couple of amendments, I know, and Mr. Olafson's going to go through the spreadsheet. What would you like to do first?
Perhaps, Mr. Chair, because the spreadsheet does reflect the anticipated changes that we would like to go ahead and make, maybe if it is agreeable to you, that we could look to these amendments first and then review the bill.
Okay. Senator Friends, willing to move Senate A30 amendment to the bill, which Senator Friends makes that motion. Senator McEwen, could you explain the A30 amendment?
Yes, that was just going to ask Mr. Chair if you'd like to do. Mr. Chair, members, the A30 amendment is a bill from Senator Zhang. It has been through all of the committees that it has been referred to now to Finance. I believe that it is most appropriately carried in the labor bill, so I would like to amend it in. What it would do is it would expand prevailing wage requirements to include multifamily, low-income housing tax credit projects with at least 10 units, which receive financing from the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. It would also establish new remedies for wage theft, which occur on projects receiving funding from MHFA. So really, this is an effort to increase protections against wage theft for Minnesotans, and also to make sure that when we're using public dollars and spending the money of the people of Minnesota, that money is being spent in a way that provides for good family supporting jobs and is not a race to the bottom. So just closing some gaps there, and I think that this is an excellent bill and would like to see it adopted.
Thank you. And for members, the A30, Senator Zhang's bill has been passed out of other committees. I'm not sure which committees, but it's been in Senate Finance jurisdiction since
Housing, Mr. Chair, I according to the information I have, it was in housing, then referred to judiciary. It looks like, actually, then it had been amended, so the judiciary no longer had jurisdiction, then to labor, and then it was passed through labor and then referred to finance.
Is there a discussion on the A30 amendment? Senator Draheim.
Thank you. I was wondering if I could ask nonpartisan staff if they think this should go to taxes.
Mr. Chair, members, I did speak with Tax Council yesterday, and this was not one of the bills that was flagged to go to taxes because it's a federal housing tax credit that both, I believe, Senator Rest and Council have discussed, and it was not one of the TIF bills and some of those other bills that were specifically asked to come to taxes. So I did check on that yesterday. So it's my understanding at this point that it did not need to go to taxes.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the response. I serve on the Housing Committee, and we had a lively debate on this bill, Chair. And when we look and tour at different housing projects across the state, we hear a lot of feedback about how expensive it is to build affordable housing. And we all hear about the cost of rent, the cost of purchase. In this case, it's more the rental side. And the nonprofits have told us time and time again that adding prevailing wage adds 30 to 50% to the cost of the project. So we spent a record dollar amount last year, members, on housing. Literally billions of dollars to try to tackle that one goal of reducing the cost of housing. And here we are, a few months later, trying to pass a bill that will do the exact opposite that we just spent all this money on, trying to reduce the cost of housing. So I'm a very strong opponent to this amendment. I understand the concept, but I mean, I haven't talked to one person that thinks housing costs are affordable. And even outside the St. Paul bubble, people think housing is too expensive. And they don't know how their kids are going to afford a home or pay rent. And here we're going to go add to the cost of it. So I don't think right now is the right time for this amendment. So I oppose it, and I urge everybody else to. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate this discussion, Senator Draheim, and we also have had a discussion on this and other provisions in the Labor Committee that have to do with prevailing wage, and we do have a split of opinion, as is the case in many of our committees in the Senate, but it did emerge, and I hold the belief that whenever we are spending public dollars, it is actually, in my district, an assumption that those public dollars will be spent if they are providing any work and jobs, and in this case, providing housing, that isn't going to be some sort of a cheap race to the bottom, that is going to be providing jobs that are decent, good paying, prevailing wage, exactly what it sounds like, that we're going to be paid the prevailing wage, and that there's going to be a basic floor standard for the types of jobs that will be provided with public money. I think that with this bill and other bills that we heard in the Labor Committee, I shared with the committee, and other colleagues echoed this, that actually I think my constituents would be shocked that this already isn't in place. This is something that I think is assumed. So this is playing catch up in my mind, and I understand that we want to keep the price low, but not on the backs of working Minnesotans. So we'll do the best we can. Thank you.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Thank you for your response. And, you know, I guess I'd like to ask you a question. Have you talked to the communities that are begging people to come and build housing in rural Minnesota? in rural Minnesota, we don't have a lot of options for contractors. And part of the problem with, the main problem with our housing costs is we don't have enough supply. We don't have enough units. Means houses, apartments, whatever. So in rural Minnesota, most communities are begging people to come build. Begging builders to come and build. And this is just one more piece of red tape standing in the way of our small towns throughout Minnesota to be able to find someone to come build in their community. A lot of smaller contractors don't have the personnel to do a bunch of red tape that you're looking to put on. So I just don't think it's ready. I oppose the amendment, and thank you for your time.
Further discussion on the A30 amendment. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and, we'll try to get to a vote on this very quickly. As the author of the wage theft bill that was negotiated with a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears, as Ms. Fontaine can attest to, I'm concerned with all the new requirements that are being added on top. This was a bill that was negotiated amongst the stakeholders. Everybody walked away a little happy and a little unhappy, and I think this is one where I don't know that we've had that collaboration with the stakeholders. And so, members, I would encourage a no vote.
Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to make a quick comment here. We keep hearing about race to the bottom, race to the bottom, race to the bottom. Well, folks, this amendment is already going to put us in the bottom, and so if we really want to race to the bottom in rural Minnesota, vote for this amendment. If you want to help rural Minnesota and do what we keep saying we want to do, have affordable housing, then let's use some common sense and let's vote against this amendment. Thank you.
Further discussion, if not on the.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom, just saw your hand.
Mr. Chair, just a question for the author. What is the reason we're bringing this significant policy change and amendment to the bill in finance, and why didn't it get handled in the previous committees? That seems like a major change, and if we want to do more for less, that's what the author's amendment will result in. And we need housing, as Senator Draheim said. He hit the nail right on the head. And so I'm just wondering why this major amendment is now all of a sudden being brought in finance when it wasn't dealt with in the previous committees.
Senator Westrom, I mentioned earlier that this bill is the language of the A30 amendment has been in the Senate Finance Committee for a month, and there was a decision made that they wanted to merge the two bills into one. So the committee has jurisdiction over both bills, and they're related issues, but that's why we're debating this one separately as a motion to include it in the bill.
Correct.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there further discussion on the A30 amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No. No.
No.
Division? Chair is asking for a division. All those in favor, raise your hands, and those online, raise your hands if you are able to do so. If not, you have to turn on your, if you can't turn on your camera, you'll have to tell us.
Mr. Chair, I don't think Senator Westrom intends to have his hand raised.
Okay, Senator Westrom's hand is raised for a question, not for raising his hand on this. Okay. So I count. One. And those opposed? By a motion of, vote of 6 in favor and 5 opposed, the motion does prevail. And we're trying to make sure we're not misinterpreting, but I think we counted the hands right on, because they're raising hands for asking questions. I don't want to confuse that, but I believe that count is accurate. So A30 amendment has been adopted. And Senator McEwen, you also wanted to move the first, you have the A32 amendment, and you indicated you only wanted page 1 and up through line 5 on page 2. Is that correct? You wanted to have that moved?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Senator Friends, can you move the A32 amendment, the first page and 5 lines on page 2?
So moved.
Thank you. Senator McEwen, could you speak to this amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this amendment reflects some changes in allocations amounts, or inserting after we've done some work to decide what is the appropriate amount. The first, on 1.2, line 1.2 of the amendment, that removes an appropriation to the Attorney General's office that had been for Senator McQuaid's youth and content creation bill, but revising, and then revise the fiscal note. Let's see here. We also added some appropriations for the University of Minnesota and McEwen for labor relations staff due to the changes that we are going to make to the PELRA units. We also have an allocation on, this is on line 1.10 of the amendment, for a funding for a program called Tending the Soil. A group called Tending the Soil would like to open up a center called the Rise Up Center. And this is a bill put forward by Senator Dibble, and we took testimony on this in the Senate Labor Committee, and are happy to report that there has been some consensus around wanting to move forward with this center and provide the funding for it. So that makes that change to add that allocation to our labor finance omnibus. We have some wording changes that allow some organizational flexibility. We have a limit to administrative costs. Let's see. Oh, and we also have a workforce development fund adjustment that is reflected from the amendment that we just heard, Senator Zhang's bill that we had just been adopted by amendment. So, and I guess I would also note that our nonpartisan staff is here, and if there's additional information that people would like to know about any details, we can have that as well. We also, I would add, added a change requested by Senator Kroon in the Judiciary Committee on the combative sports language. That's toward the end of page 1. Yeah, the rest are technical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there discussion of the A32 amendment, the first page and 5 lines? Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. I guess my question has to do with the universities, and I haven't had time to look at the amendment versus what was originally in the spreadsheet. But are we funding all the changes to Min State and to the U that's proposed in the bill with all the reshuffling?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question, Senator Draheim. We are providing some funding for the U and for McEwen in our bill. We do note that it is highly unusual and not the normal practice for an organization to provide a fiscal note for a kind of secondary effect of an effect. So the reshuffling, as you described it, the actual realization of the rights that these employees ostensibly already have, but have not in practice been able to exercise, making that available to them does not mean that they will choose to exercise those rights. So the costs that are being asserted by both of these institutions in regard to the possible costs that they could incur are highly speculative and based on an assumption that is highly irregular. The normal process, if they were to incur additional costs due to increased organizing on the part of their staff into bargaining units, and they found that that was costing their institutions more money and taxing the staff that they do have. The normal process is for them to come then to the legislature and to explain the need for more FTEs in those areas, and then we can do that when the time comes that they actually need that funding. So this is, we have provided some funding, but the fiscal note that the institutions provided is not the amount that we have provided in this bill.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. And, you know, and Chair, maybe I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but just with all the shifts in money, I just wanted to bring it up. So I appreciate the leniency here a little bit. But Senator McEwen, you mentioned the what ifs and the fiscal note that they provided you. What kind of numbers were on that fiscal note that they provided you? The U of M and Min State.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Pratt.
if I may, maybe to interrupt Senator Draheim, maybe we could just ask staff to walk through the fiscal note?
Sure.
Yes, fiscal note, we are distributing it right now. And Ms. Doyle-Fontaine, are you going to be the one who walks through this, or, oh, sorry, Mr. Olafson, you're going to be the one.
Okay. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record, Eric Olafson, Senate Fiscal Analyst for the Labor Committee. So you should have just received the finalized fiscal note for SF 4597 for the public employees and U of M employee bargaining unit modification. So on the first page of the fiscal note, for the anticipated or estimated costs to Minnesota State from the general fund, it's $1.559 million in fiscal year 25 and ongoing in fiscal year 26 and 27. And for the University of Minnesota, this is also anticipated costs, estimated costs from the general fund. It's $335,000 in fiscal year 25. $867,000 in fiscal year 26, and $1.259 million in fiscal year 27. So for a total general fund impact to the underlying bill of SF 4597 of $1.894 million in fiscal year 25, $2.426 million in fiscal year 26, and $2.818 million in fiscal year 27.
Chair?
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Can you just explain the ramp up on the U of M, and will that continue to, I know we're not supposed to look outside the years, but what is the rationale with the increase in dollar amount?
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, thank you for the question. So basically, in the University of Minnesota's fiscal note, they assume one new bargaining unit in fiscal year 25, two new bargaining units in fiscal year 26, and an additional two new bargaining units in fiscal year 27. So some of those costs are one time for setting up the new fiscal new bargaining units, but some are recurring costs as well. I can
Continue if you would.
continue walking through the fiscal note. And then if you will, to see those general fund expenditures to the University of Minnesota broken out, I'd point you to page 6 of the fiscal note. And to the middle table here, this is what I found to be the most helpful table to explain the overall cost of the University of Minnesota. They break it up by the different divisions within the Office of the Department, or the Office of Human Resources Department. So it breaks it up within their different departments of the Office of Human Resources. So for the Employee and Labor Relations Department, it's 173,000 fiscal year 25, approximately 520,000 fiscal year 26, and 866,000 in fiscal year 27. For compensation and classification, it's approximately 33,000 in fiscal year 25, 74,000 fiscal year 26, and approximately 91,000 in fiscal year 27. For their employee benefits department, it's approximately 7,000 fiscal year 25, approximately 15,000 in fiscal year 26, and approximately 17,000 rounding up for fiscal year 27. For their retirement department, it's approximately 14,000 fiscal year 25, 28,000 fiscal year 26, and again, that same 28,000 in fiscal year 27. For their operations department, approximately $84,000 in fiscal year 25, $177,000 in fiscal year 26, and approximately $196,000 in fiscal year 27. For their communications department, it's approximately $24,000 in fiscal year 25, $53,000 in fiscal year 26, and $62,000 in fiscal year 27. So those total amounts at the bottom there match their estimated general fund impact on the fiscal note. So that basically summarizes the different costs. Some are recurring and some are non-recurring costs, and that the following tables for the next few pages explain all those, but without going into too much depth, I'll move on to the cost to Minnesota State, if that's okay with the committee. So again, on page 21 on the fiscal note, you can, this is for Minnesota State. You can see the cost of $1.559 million ongoing beginning in fiscal year 25 from the general fund. So this is Minnesota State, and this is based on the assumptions that Minnesota State had 9,734 student workers in fiscal year 2023. And this assumes that based on the language, at least 60% of these students will meet the amended definition and become public employees. So Min State estimates that they'll need human resource staff, payroll staff, and labor relations staff to work with these amount of new public employees. So that's how. So for HR payroll staff per fiscal year, they anticipate $1.239 million. For HR payroll staff, and for labor relations staff, $320,000. So that, and then so on page 23, you can see that total amount of $1,559,000 ongoing for Minnesota State. And that's the fiscal note.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Senator Drahan.
Thank you, Chair. You read my mind. Thank you. So I served on the higher ed committee for a couple of years when I first got elected 8 years ago, and we spent most of our time trying to figure out how to lower costs for our kids and make it more affordable so more people could go to college. And with this amendment and the underlying bill, we're adding admin expense, ongoing admin expense, without really benefiting the kids. And that's the whole reason, I shouldn't say kids, the students, who I refer to as kids, that go to college. And, for Min State, which is where my dad worked his whole career and where I went to school in Mankato, part of the reason I picked back then Mankato State University was because it was affordable. And here we're adding to the overhead and the expense. So less kids can afford to go to college. And, on a national level, it seems like every other month we're paying for student debt. which we all agree costs too much, but we're not helping here. I don't see how this furthers the students' education at all. Senator McEwen, have you met with the student groups at Minn State?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Draham. We have had some discussion with a leader from those student groups and did invite them to both come to our office for a meeting and also engage with the stakeholders who wanted to provide more information about what the changes might mean for those student groups.
Thank you, Chair. So, you know, the kids, the students, excuse me, pay fees to go to school. And, you know, they're paying $1.5 million for the Students United and Lead MN. It's a mandatory fee. And are we charging them twice for representation? So they pay a fee to be represented by a group to advocate for them on campus. And if they're forced into a bargaining unit, wouldn't they be paying twice?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Draheim. Senator Draheim, I think you perhaps just have a misunderstanding of public sector unions and the way that they function. There's no mandatory, coerced, forced membership in any kind of a public sector union. So what we're talking about is when we say that they would be part of a bargaining unit, that means that under PELRA, if they elect to decide to organize into a union, there are these bargaining units categories set out, and their organizing unit that if they decide, this is if they decide to exercise their right to form a union, then they would be under that category. And then that would be their choice to pay. If they vote to be in a union and they decide to be in a union, then part of that may be paying union dues. The other issue that I would just like to highlight that I think your question reflects is that, as I understand it, the MnSCU system does have some organizations that do represent some student interests within the system, and I think that that's great. It sounds like they have some very good organizations with a lot of student involvement and advocacy. Those aren't the same things as a union. That's different. A union is a place where working people come together to bargain collectively with an employer over the terms of their employment, their pay, benefits, those types of things. That's just fundamentally different from the types of organizations that I understand that they have at MnSCU, which, as I said, sounds like they're good organizations, and that may reflect on students' decision to organize or not. I don't know. But what this bill really is about is making sure that the rights that we have told these students and these professors and these workers at these universities that they already have, right now they are literally not able to exercise these rights that they have. These changes will just make it possible if they decide to join a union. That is all that it does.
Chair?
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator McEwen. So you mentioned benefits. So as a employer, you know, when we have employees that only work a couple hours a day, in between class schedules, which I had employees that did that, and they wanted a part-time job, so they were flexible. So if it was midterms or finals, they wouldn't want to work. But if it was spring break or summer break, they'd want to get as many hours in as possible. So how do you envision this working for the benefits that you mentioned? You know, for handling a part-time job in the union or the collective bargaining unit, And then how does that interact with federal rules on payroll for kids or for college students? In the work-study programs, I know my brother had a federal grant, and there were strings attached to that. And so how does that all intersect with your proposal here?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Draheim. That'll be up to the union and the employer to work out in forming, the bargaining unit forming, and then what they bargain for, how they make sure that the terms of their employment, their hours, their benefits comply with different rules, just like any other employment.
Further discussion? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator McEwen, and, thank you, Senator Draheim, for taking us down some of that background, because one thing we've seen in this committee is that fiscal notes have tended to be on the low side. We're doing a finance adjustment to HSR. We just saw a massive adjustment in education because of a failure to accurately forecast costs. Here we've got Minnesota State's telling us that they expect this to cost them $4.6 million over 3 years. We've got the University of Minnesota is telling us that it's going to, roughly cost about $2 million, $2.1 million. We're giving the University of Minnesota about a third of what they've said the cost is going to be, $628,000. We're giving Minnesota State about a tenth of what they've said they need, about $414,000 over the 3-year period. And Mr. Chair, I hearken back to a comment that Senator Frentz made that, we need to put our money where our values are. And this is not putting our money where our values are. This is undercutting our higher ed institutions, as Senator Draheim said, pushing this expense to the students. Mr. Chair, I'd also like to ask Senator Champion a quick question. Senator Champion, this bill takes money out of the Workforce Development Fund on lines 1.21 through 1.23. I don't recall seeing this bill come through the Jobs Committee. Can you tell me if we're going to see and review this bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Pratt, for the question. This particular bill was heard already in labor, and so this is in the jurisdiction. It's consistent with workforce development funds, and so they needed some support, and so we were going to give them some support. You're accurate about the fact that you really worked hard on the wage theft from the Jobs Committee, and so it just would appear to me that it would be still consistent with that great work that you did there, and so it was already heard in the committee, and we know about it. So it's, from my understanding, it's $61,000. So is that amount? And I know that there's some tails on it. So I don't think we need to see it, and I trust that labor, did all the review that they're supposed to do there.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Champion. I would just say this looks like an ongoing expense to the Workforce Development Fund, an additional ongoing statutory draw. And I would also refer the chair to the jurisdiction worksheet that's online. And the only committee that has jurisdiction over 116L is the Jobs Committee. It is not under the purview of the Labor Committee. And I think it's something that the Jobs Committee, regardless of the amount, should have had a chance to review and put their, have a discussion and actually say that, yes, this is an ongoing expense that we think should be coming out of that division. Whether it's wage theft or not, wherever the policy lies, the money is coming out of a fund that's under the jurisdiction of the Jobs Committee, and I think it's wholly inappropriate that it didn't get heard and reviewed in the Jobs Committee. And I'm just asking, is there going to be a review of this so that the Jobs Committee can say, yes, we agree? Because Senator Champion, I remember I had a bill talking about returning some of the workforce development funds to the employers, and your testimony then was there are too many responsibilities for the workforce development fund already. Too many statutory appropriations coming out of that fund that we can't afford to give any of the money back to employers, but somehow we seem to be able to approve an ongoing permanent expense to that fund that's in your jurisdiction.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Champion.
I believe there was a question, and so thank you, Senator Pratt, for your continued discussion and interest in this area. Just for clarity, if my memory serves me correctly, the bill that you're referring to is that you wanted to take training dollars, I think, from the Workforce Development Fund or give it back to employers if they provided training. Is that the bill that you were referring to, Senator Pratt? That is?
Mr. Chair, it is.
Oh, okay. So, and what I mentioned there is that DEED already had a process in order to help employers with training their employees. In fact, they could, to this day, still apply for a grant, and they could be given that revenue through a process, a grant process through DEED, and get that support. One of the things that we did also understand is that would put an enormous burden on workforce development and just the process in order to do so. But we did want to make sure that those employers, whether they're small or medium employers, would have the opportunity to have the resources to provide training, and that was done. So that's why. I did have an opportunity to discuss this with the chair. I looked at the information, and so I think it's an appropriate expense, especially when we think in terms of the seriousness of wage theft. We want to make sure that that is around jobs and opportunity, and we don't want individuals, working and not being compensated for the work that they're contributing to and on behalf of an employer. Principally, that puts us all as Minnesotans in the worst place possible. So thank you, Senator Pratt. And again, I do applaud you for all the work that you have always tried to do in wage theft, and this is consistent with that work.
Further discussion. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, in looking at the language, I don't see how this has a nexus to the Workforce Development Fund. And regardless of whether or not it's funding wage theft or not, it's very clear on the jurisdiction of the committee sheet that we have posted on our website that the only committee that has jurisdiction over the Workforce Development Fund and the Job Scales Partnership Board is the Jobs Committee. And here we are, and I appreciate that Senator Champion believes that this is an appropriate use. It would have been nice, Mr. Chair, to have that discussion in committee and to be able to ask the author and the various people who pay into and take money from the Workforce Development Fund, be able to testify on behalf of that. Whether it's 61,000 or 61 million, I think Minnesotans expect us to have a consistent process that we follow, and that we follow the processes that we lay out, and not to shortcut bills like this and expenditures like this. And so, Mr. Chair, I strongly object to the use of these funds and the process that has been being used by the DFL majority.
Thank you. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the discussion, everybody. I was just having some discussion with our nonpartisan staff in regard to these jurisdictional issues, and I just wanted to make some clarifications. Wage theft enforcement by the Department of Labor and Industry is funded by the Workforce Development Fund, and I just was wondering if we could hear from our staff in regard to that jurisdictional piece. Thanks.
Sure. Who were you? Oh, Mr. Wolfson.
Mr. Chairs, members, in our labor tracking spreadsheet, we track prevailing wage enforcement from the Workforce Development Fund through the Department of Labor and Industry. So, thank you.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator McEwen and Mr. Olson. I don't know that changes anything. The fact of the matter, whether or not, I mean, the fact is, when I was chair of the Jobs and Labor Committee, I had jurisdiction to make that expenditure. Now, under the new jurisdictions, any changes to that expenditure must go through the Jobs and Economic Development Committee, because that's the committee of jurisdiction over the Workforce Development Fund as it's been split out. So I don't know that just because it's being funded out of there today means that it can bypass a committee with jurisdiction for any changes in expenditure.
Further discussion. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll just keep it short, and I know you want to probably vote on this amendment. I guess the last question I have for Senator McEwen is the staff or the faculty unions at Minn State. Have you had discussion with them on the effects of the shortfall, about $1.5 million shortfall you're going to give Minn State with these new mandates that you're proposing?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Draheim. The faculty union is part of a large coalition of workers who have been asking for these changes for some time. So there, as I understand it, that coalition has been in contact and is looking at these claims of cost, and there's regular ongoing communication between everybody in that coalition. And we've made it very clear from beginning the work on this bill that our office is always open to any individual groups within that coalition if they'd like to talk to us about any concerns or specific issues that they have going forward. And I have not heard specifically from that faculty at Minskew that they have any concerns in regard to the bill.
So clarify, Chair, if I could, that so the $1.5 million that you're shorting Minn State, the faculty unions have not come out to support your provisions or against their provisions? Is that what I'm hearing? Senator McEwen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. They're part of the coalition, so my understanding is that they're in support of the bill, and we're not. Also, again, I just need to reiterate that the costs that we are seeing from the fiscal note are speculative. And so we're not shorting. I take issue with the characterization of that. And that may be part of why we haven't heard any sort of reaction. But again, our office is always open to any concerns, and that will continue to be the case. And as far as I know, I have not heard any sort of dissent within the coalition around that. Thank you.
Chair, I think I want to offer an oral amendment then to maybe delete, I mean, if we're going to hire all this staff, and I mean, I obviously I'll do something on the floor, but, you know, there's 9,700, 9,800 students that would qualify for this. According to the fiscal note, Senator McEwen, it says, I don't know if you can find it real quick. I think it was on page 21. 9,734 students last year worked for Min State. And you don't think that there's going to be a percentage of them that are going to opt in and there won't be any expense? Is that my understanding?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you. So, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Draheim, for this discussion. MnSCU, in our meetings with them, they already have a number of unionized employees. They work regularly with unions. They bargain with them. This is not going to be some sort of new reinvention of the wheel for them. There is the potential, if people who would now be actually able to access their rights to join a union do decide to, depending on how that bargaining takes place. They can also bargain together and to facilitate efficiency, so we'll see how that goes. But again, if there are increased costs, we can address that going forward. But all of the unions that represent employees in MnSCU are part of this coalition in support of this bill. They came to our office as part of this coalition asking for these changes to be made.
Chair?
Go ahead, Senator Draheim.
Thank you. My point isn't if the coalition is for it or against it. Is there going to be a fiscal impact to the students? You're going to have a percentage. I mean, 9,700 people would be my second biggest town in my district. That's a lot of people. And there's going to be a percentage that are going to sign up to participate, which is their right, but there is a cost to that. And that cost has to be deferred somewhere. And the students are either going to have to pay for it or they're going to have to cut faculty. I don't know how else they're going to pay for it. And the majority of the expense at most universities is the staffing. So they're either going to have to raise tuition to make up for this $1.5 million shortfall or cut staff. I don't see how else they're going to do it. But anyway, Chair, I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Thank you. Senator Frentz.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator McEwen, for bringing this forward. Thank you, Senator Draheim. Senator McEwen, I do have a question in that in some of the advocacy we've got from Min State, wouldn't you know it, the Min State campus in my district is the very one Senator Draheim's referring to. If they are the IFO not supportive, if there's a proposal to exempt Min State and separate them from the University of Minnesota, do I hear you saying you're open to that conversation?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Friends, for that question. If the coalition, if the IFO came to us with some sort of change and saying that they didn't want to be part of this coalition, they wanted to be, we certainly wouldn't want to go against their wishes. So again, my door, yes, you heard correctly, my door is always open as we go into conference. I'm happy to continue entertaining and talking through any concerns people have or proposed changes they'd like to make. But I do feel that a lot of work has been done in this coalition, so that would be surprising to me if that came to us. But yes, absolutely, my door is always open.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator McEwen. I think that's exactly what people want to hear, is that your door's open. I think to Senator Draheim's point, we're asking, is this an expense? If so, where's it coming from? There are a number of budgets in the Min State milieu, and so I think it's a fair point that if we're going to be putting our money where our mouth is, we have to say, what's this going to cost? At 9,700 students, this legislator appreciates your willingness to continue that conversation. And I have a sense that there may have been some conversations where they haven't had a chance to come see the author, to which I've just texted you might want to talk to the author. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Any further? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask a question about a different part of the amendment. Senator McEwen, it looks like on pages, on page, or line 111 and 112 of the amendment, In the appropriation to tending the soil, you are striking a 501c3 nonprofit organization description. I'm wondering why you're doing that.
I do. I think so. Do you want to speak to that?
Mr. Chair, thank you for the question, Senator Pratt. I'm going to ask if Senator Dibble can address that question, because this is
Senator Dibble, welcome
his
to the committee on
underlying
that
bill.
question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I understand, and I might have to phone a friend, we have some folks who are a little more expert on the development proposal that are in the audience. But as I understand, it won't just simply be the 501c3 entity that'll be a party to helping do the renovations and the build out of the facility. They have an LLC that's also participating in the construction project.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Senator Dibble, speak up. You kind of tailed off there at the end.
Oh, I think they have different corporate entities that are kind of under the same umbrella. There's a 501c3, but also an LLC that'll be a part of the undertaking for this project. And so they need to make sure that the right recipients can receive the money for the purpose of carrying out the project.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I understand it, and either the author or Senator Dibble, we're striking this language so that we can fund both a nonprofit and a for-profit limited liability corporation?
Senator Dibble.
Mr. Chair, can I ask someone to come forward to explain better why this request was made?
Sure.
Thanks.
Senator Dibble. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself and go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kat Salonik-Schlatt. I'm Executive Director of Tending the Soil Minnesota, the 501c3 nonprofit you're asking about, Senator Pratt. So our organization serves several longstanding groups, and we need the flexibility to create the container for the Rise Up Center that will best serve those groups. And so by striking that language, you're offering that opportunity to set up the container that can best serve the workforce development programming that needs to happen.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that explanation, and I can appreciate that. I've got several concerns on this provision to begin with. One, that it probably should have been referred to capital investment as well. I don't necessarily see the connection to the Labor Committee. It almost seems more like, again, a jobs and workforce development provision. But Mr. Chair, we've given billions in this biennium to nonprofits, and now we're saying you don't even have to be a nonprofit. You can be a limited liability corporation. You can be a for-profit entity and still get a grant from the state of Minnesota, and a $9 million grant to boot. I mean, not a small amount. This is, I believe the target for the Labor Committee started out at $1 million and was increased to 10 just to accommodate this. I think it's a misuse of public funds, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to be clear, this is not a profit-seeking project or undertaking. This is a workforce development undertaking. You know, I can hand out the sheet if folks are interested in what's being proposed exactly, but it's a consortium of organizations that'll be doing workforce development, apprenticeship work, trying to ready people for the job market, particularly in sectors where it's been very difficult to find workers. So it's creating opportunity for folks who are currently underserved in a large community collaborative, and it's definitely not a profit-seeking undertaking.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, and thank you, Senator Dibble, for confirming what what I read in here, that this is more of a workforce development initiative and should have been under the jurisdiction of the Jobs Committee, which, whether or not through the jurisdiction sheet or through custom and usage, has always had jurisdiction over workforce development. And I think this is, again, an example of the majority playing fast and loose with the rules and the traditions of the Senate. Understanding that they've mismanaged their schedule in such a way that now they have to shortcut committees that have jurisdiction over some of these areas. Thank you.
Further discussion, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Pratt, you may not recall, but last year in the capital investment bill, we did appropriate $1.5 million to the Rise Up Center, so we're familiar with it. I visited the center as well. I think myself did. I don't think the committee did. It's kind of a very unusual collaboration and really, really addresses the severe workforce shortage we have and how we really can't leave anybody out. I mean, we have to be training immigrants, we have to be training people, formerly incarcerated people, because of the severe demographic change in the state. So I think this is really, really an important project, and I do think that, you know, where it's funded, I think is flexible. It could be funded in capital investment. However, our target didn't include cash, or very limited amount of cash. It could have been included in the Jobs Committee. It could have been included in the Labor Committee. We all have some jurisdiction over that, but at least in terms of my committee, we're very familiar with the project.
Senator Pratt.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Pappas, and I appreciate those comments. The fact that we funded it last year through capital investment.
Just 1.5 million.
2.15 million.
1.5.
1.5 doesn't mean that we should be bypassing a review by the Capital Investment Committee when we are, in fact, helping to rehab hard assets. And it still doesn't take away from the fact that it should be heard in jobs, because it is a workforce development initiative. And you've kind of proven my point, is just because we heard it last year, not this particular proposal, but a similar proposal that was funded, and this is a brand new request, doesn't mean that we should shortcut the procedures. And I'm concerned that we have a current president and a past president that are allowing this to happen.
Mr. Chairman, just a follow-up.
Senator Pappas.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to follow up. I know because this is construction, I've had discussions with Senator Champion in the past that he does not feel like he should be doing construction projects in his bill. It should be in capital investment. It has been in capital investment to get them started, but they are ultimately raising over $18 million from various private entities, from unions, from I think the city of Minneapolis has also contributed. So to my information says that they have successfully raised $3.5 million toward the total $18 million cost of the project.
Is there further discussion on the A32 amendment, or first page and second page 5 lines? If not, all those in favor of the A32 amendment say aye. Mr. Chair. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before we take that vote, I just want to be clear what we're voting on, because it's, if I recall, we divided the amendment into two sections. Right. So we're only taking the motion on the first part?
First page and up to line 5 on page 2.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, might I ask that you amend the motion to before the vote so that it accurately reflects what we're voting on?
Sure, I will state that again. Senator Friends' motion on the A32 amendment was only on page 1 through page 2, line 5. The rest of the thing has not been under consideration. Is that clear enough to members?
Thank you,
okay.
Mr. Chair.
On that motion, for those who are voting remotely, please turn on your cameras. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
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 Motion prevails. Further discussion of the Senate File 5266.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Pratt.
I have I'm sorry, what was your comment just now about the further discussion?
Actually, we have not gone through the spreadsheet yet. I think maybe Mr. Wolfson, who's been very patiently waiting there.
Mr. Chair?
Yes?
So I guess I'm confused. I thought we divided the amendment and we were going to have discussion on both sections. We never took a vote on an amendment to strike the rest of the A32.
No, Senator Pratt, when the motion was, the author of the bill had requested that we only take up the first page and 5 lines of the amendment. So the motion from Senator Friends was to adopt page 1 through, in other words, just not taking up the rest of the amendment. It was only offering the first page and a half. The other half, if somebody wants to offer it, they could offer it, but that was not being offered by not at the request of the author of the bill.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I was confused by that move.
Apologize for that confusion. Mr. Olofsson, are you ready to go ahead with the spreadsheet?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, in your packets, you should have a 2-page spreadsheet. Top left corner, 2024 labor supplemental budget, Finance Committee SF 5266 1E as amended by the A32. Top right corner, 4/26/2024, 8:14 a.m. So members of the committee, the labor budget received a general fund target of $10 million in fiscal year 25 and a net zero in the tails. And this bill in front of you, as amended, does meet that, as amended by the A32, does meet that general fund target. So beginning with the Department of Labor, so column A shows the different appropriation changes. This is a change item spreadsheet above the base from last year. And I will focus on columns F through K, which shows the Senate position in the bill in front of you. So beginning with the Department of Labor and Industry, on line 8, there's a earned sick and safe time rulemaking cancellation. So we cancel $310,000 from the general fund in fiscal year 25, and then on line 9, the bill reappropriates that money specifically for rulemaking for earned sick and safe time with that $310,000 from the general fund with extended availability through fiscal year 27. And then on line 10, this comes from Senate File 3544 for private sector personnel records, and this is specifically to inform and educate employers. Beginning in fiscal year 25, it's $141,000, and that's an ongoing cost in 26 and 27. So on line 11 for the total labor standards division from the general fund, it's $141,000 in fiscal year 25, and then $282,000 from the general fund in the tails. And then on line 13, after the A32 amendment, this is for prevailing wage enforcement for multifamily housing development projects under that low income tax credit. So that's $61,000 ongoing from the Workforce Development Fund beginning in fiscal year 25. So $61,000 in FY25 and then $122,000 in the tails. Moving on down to the Workplace Safety Division, this is for rulemaking this is on line 17. This is for rulemaking regarding acceptable blood lead levels for workers. This comes from the Workers' Compensation Fund. So that's $279,000 in fiscal year 25 and $143,000 in fiscal year 26, and that's one time. Moving on down to line 21, this is after the A32 amendment, this is for the Tending the Soil Rise Up Center redevelopment. That's $9 million one time. There was also administrative costs specified within the amendment that DLI may use up to 1% of the appropriation for administrative costs, including reporting. On line 25, there's a budget neutral change for the Office of Combative Sports. It's a technical fix. On line 29, moving on to the construction codes. This is for licensing and certification requirements for underground telecommunication installers. This comes from the Construction Code Fund. It's a statutory appropriation, but it's estimated to be $38,000 in fiscal year 25, $15,000 in fiscal year 26, and $15,000 in fiscal year 27. So $38,000 in the first biennium and $30,000 in the second biennium. Line 33 is a governor's recommendation for the contractor recovery fund. This is a cap increase to account in the special revenue fund. So this increases expenditures from that fund by $228,000 in fiscal year 25, and that's ongoing in fiscal year 26 and 27. So $228,000 fiscal year 25 and $456,000 in the tails. On lines 37 and 38, this also comes from a governor's recommendation. Basically, it reallocates the appropriations for the police officer grievance arbitration or officer reallocation. It just puts it into the base appropriation for the Bureau of Mediation Services, as well with the Labor Management Committee reallocation. This comes from the Bureau of Mediation Services to make the funds more flexible for their purposes. Moving on to page 2 of the fiscal note, this comes, we have the Department of Health on line 46. This is also to assist with rulemaking for the acceptable blood lead levels for workers on Senate File 4600. So $174,000 in fiscal year 25 is appropriated to help with rulemaking. That's available through fiscal year 26. Moving on to the University of Minnesota. So for labor relations staffing costs related to PELRA, it's $299,000 from the general fund in fiscal year 25, $314,000 in fiscal year 26, and $265,000 in fiscal year 27. So $299,000 in fiscal year 25 and $579,000 in the tails. And then on moving on to Minnesota State, for labor relations staffing costs, it's $138,000 in fiscal year 25, and that's ongoing in the tails from the general fund. So $138,000 in the first biennium and $276,000 in the tails. So for the total expenditures within the bill before I also mention the bills that are traveling separately, on line 60 from the general fund, it's $9.752 million in the first biennium and $1.137 million in the tails. For the workers' compensation fund, this again is for the rulemaking. It's $279,000 in 24-25, $143,000 in FY26. On line 62, that shows the additional workforce development fund cost for prevailing wages of $61,000 first biennium, $122,000 in the tails. On line 63, that shows the construction code costs again of $38,000 in fiscal year 25, and $30,000 in the tails from the construction code fund. And then on line 64, that again summarizes the cost of the special revenue fund of $228,000 25 and $456,000 in the tails. So for bills moving separately for the non-general fund, so as we discussed last week regarding the worker misclassification bill, the Office of Administrative Hearings will anticipate 3 contested hearings beginning in fiscal year 26. This comes to the Office of Administrative Hearings Fund account. That's $15,000 in fiscal year 26 and $15,000 in fiscal year 27. But you'll see a corresponding $15,000 of revenues coming in from DLI on line 72. So those cancel each other out. But without skipping over line 71, this is from the Workers' Compensation Court. This comes from Senate File 4745 that the Finance Committee also heard a few weeks ago of the $6,000 of additional penalty revenue coming from Senate File 4745. That's additional $6,000 in fiscal year 25 ongoing to the Workers' Compensation Fund. And then To reconcile the general fund, this comes back to the worker misclassification bill, Senate File 4483 that we discussed last week. So on line 78, as an appropriation to DLI, that Senate File 4483 carries for enforcement and outreach $56,000 in FY25, and then $70,000 in both fiscal year 26 and 27 for $140,000 total. On line 79, this is to Department of Revenue for their information sharing agreement. That's $143,000 one time in fiscal year 25. And moving on down to line 80 so the Attorney General can represent DLI in these contested case hearings. There's $49,000 appropriated in FY25, but that's available through fiscal year 26. So the Attorney General has the full $98,000 in fiscal year 26 and $98,000 in fiscal year 27 to represent DLI in those contested case hearings. So for the total general fund expenditures, this is on line 81 of $248,000 in 24-25, and in this Senate File 4483, and $287,000 in the tails. And then moving on to revenues traveling separately, this is the penalty revenue coming from Senate File 4483 for the worker misclassification bill. That's $712,000 in fiscal year 26 and $712,000 to the general fund in fiscal year 27 for a total of $1,424,000 in the tails. So after reconciling everything on line 94, you can see that the bill, while also counting for Senate File 4483, meets its general fund target of $10 million one time in fiscal year 25, and then net zero spending in the tails. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. First of all, any questions? If not, I'll turn to Ms. Doyle-Fontaine. Did you have anything to add or just respond to questions? And I also, we always invite the commissioners, and Commissioner Glissenbach is here. I don't know if you're interested in providing any testimony. And also we have Commissioner Villarreal from Bureau of Mediation Services. And I don't know if you were just here for questions, just answer a question. Okay. Commissioner, did you want to, Glissenbach, you wanted to come speak? Welcome to the committee.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Nicole Blissenbach. I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry. I'm pleased to be here today in support of Senate File 5266. I want to thank Senator McEwen for including all of the department's supplemental budget priorities in this bill. These priorities include modifications to the Contractor Recovery Fund, the Office of Combative Sports, and Earn Sick and Save Time. The Contractor Recovery Fund, which is funded by a fee on residential building contractor licenses, compensates owners or lessees of residential property in Minnesota who have suffered an actual and direct out-of-pocket loss due to a licensed contractor's fraudulent, deceptive, or dishonest practices, conversion of funds, or failure of performance. The proposal before you today enhances the effectiveness of the Contractor Recovery Fund by increasing the amount of funds available to compensate homeowners who have suffered a financial loss. The maximum amount a homeowner can receive from the Contractor Recovery Fund per application is currently $75,000. This proposal would increase the maximum amount a homeowner can receive to $100,000. Increasing the maximum payout will allow homeowners to recover more of their out-of-pocket losses when a licensee fails to perform their contractual obligations. The combative sports changes in Senate File 5266 include technical fixes to the law that passed last year, such as adding rule sets for Muay Thai, allowing alternative rule sets for kickboxing, and clarifying that while youth events aren't regulated by the Office of Combative Sports, they must be regulated by a third party. In addition, proposed changes add basic fee experience requirements for individuals looking to be licensed as a combatant. These requirements will ensure that the Office of Combative Sports is licensing individuals who have been properly trained to safely compete at both the amateur and professional level. The bill also amends the event fee calculation to accommodate promoters who pay a flat venue fee but do not sell any tickets. This budget-neutral change in the fee schedule will ensure that promoters are all paying the same amount based on a percentage of the revenue they make, either through the sale of tickets or through flat-rate contractual agreements. Finally, the bill includes modifications to the ESST law. The finance provision in this bill is associated with the authorized rulemaking. Rulemaking funds were appropriated last year, and the appropriation is extended in this bill to ensure there is enough time to complete rulemaking if we are provided with that authority. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from members of the committee? If not, thank you very much for being here as well. There further discussion of the bill or amendment? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, I continue to be concerned with the changes to higher ed. As we've talked about when we passed the 832 amendment, the University of Minnesota is being funded at roughly half of their need, not even, more like a third, and Min State is being compensated by about a tenth. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the author, I jotted down a quick note. She had been collaborating with stakeholders. I'm wondering if she has support of the University of Minnesota and Minnesota State for this provision.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Pratt, for the question. I don't want to speak for either of those systems. I think that you would, their position has been wanting to be collaborative, certainly, in as much as they can with our office. From what I understand, they don't oppose it, but they want to make sure that they can work it out, and that that's sort of where it seems that they are. But I don't want to speak for either of those systems, and I don't know that they have an official position or not. You'd have to inquire with them on that.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator McEwen. Mr. Chair, I would think if she's been collaborating with all the stakeholders that she would have been able to get the support of both organizations. Mr. Chair, if I could ask Senator McEwen one other question. Does the faculty unions from Minnesota State support this? Because if you're shorting Minnesota State by $1.4 million, shouldn't they be concerned that we're not going to make up that funding somewhere else?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Pratt, for the question. I think that this question was asked previously, that the faculty union is part of the coalition in support of the bill.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to offer the 833 amendment.
Could you repeat that? 833 amendment. Senator Pratt offers the 833 amendment. It's being distributed. The amendment is simply deleting Article 8 of the bill. Senator Pratt on that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this portion of the bill is just not ready to move forward. And I think with the passage of the 832 amendment, we see that it's not ready to move forward. I've talked to representatives of both the University of Minnesota and Minnesota State they have grave concerns. Even before the funding came through, they had grave concerns over the new mandates that were going to be put on them. Now we are underfunding those mandates. In fact, in my conversation with the University of Minnesota, it sounded like there were a few people that supported the concept before they had seen the fiscal note, and well before they saw the funding that was going to be there to cover it. But there's also strong opposition within the organization on this provision. And with the stakeholder, or with the author saying she's been collaborating with stakeholders, I would have expected that we would have come closer to having worked out an agreement so that they had the necessary resources to implement, and there was clarity around implementation. I would also suggest, Mr. Chair, that one item that Senator McEwen had, well, I'll just leave it at that for now, and we can touch on some of the other pieces in a minute. But even simply from a funding standpoint, this is not ready to be a part of this bill, and I encourage members to vote no.
On the Pratt's A33 amendment.
Vote yes, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I get into a groove.
Okay, on the amendment, Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We actually don't know at this point what the costs are going to be because we don't know how many bargaining units will be created and will be successful in terms of the union organizing. So I think you're giving the university in the fiscal note some opportunity to hire some staff, some human resources staff. Hopefully they won't contract with expensive lawyers to fight the whole effort of unionization, which they've done in the past, because legal fees can mount up very quickly. So I think once we know it's purely speculative at this point, and once we know what the cost will be, then we can come back and consider if we want to help them with those costs or not. But I think that giving them some money to start out with is generous, if not appropriate. But I don't think we have to worry about fully funding something when we don't even know exactly what the costs are going to be.
Further discussion. Senator McEwen, were you?
Just briefly, yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the discussion, members. Obviously, I would respectfully ask the committee to reject the amendment that has been offered by Senator Pratt. It just completely retains the status quo, which is a disenfranchisement of thousands of workers in the University of Minnesota and MnSCU system from being able to exercise the rights that they're told that they have, but they cannot exercise right now. So this change is really necessary, as Senator Pappas said beautifully. There are actually members of the coalition who feel that there shouldn't be any allocation at this point because these costs are purely speculative, and there are all these intermediary conditions that would have to take place before those costs would actually be in effect. So we have to see what those will be, and then talk about what funding would be appropriate, and we can deal with that at that time. But this goes back to basic workers' labor rights, basic rights of the people of Minnesota to be able to, if they decide to, join together with coworkers and form a union. That is all that this is. This is making that possible for those people to make that choice. This is a right that thousands of Minnesotans already have and enjoy and exercise to their great benefit. And there is a coalition of thousands of workers from the University of Minnesota system who have been working on this issue. They've gone to court over this issue. The courts have directed them to come to the legislature to fix this issue. And so this has been something that they've been working on for years. They're here asking for our help. I wish that members of this committee, I don't know if any of you were on some of the committees where this bill was heard in more detail. We had dozens of workers and supporters of this bill from the coalition out in force to let members of these committees know the need for this bill. So I think that the allocation is really, that we've made in our bill, is really a nod to the two systems, that as we go forward, we are going to be in collaboration with them to make sure that this is workable for them. Thank you.
Is there further, Senator Pratt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, Mr. Chair, it's easy to say that these are speculative costs. We do the fiscal note process because we want the best estimate of what we think the agencies that are going to be impacted will have to take. And what we've seen in this provision is there becomes a statutory appropriation going on. And so if it's short, what's going to happen is it's going to be built into the forecast, and we're going to increase the burden on students to pay this, and it's going to show up as no fiscal impact because it's going to be baked into the forecast. I think it's, I just can't tell you how wrong this is. I'm struggling to find the words to figure out how wrong this is. It is a violation of our fiduciary responsibility as the Finance Committee and the Minnesota Senate to underfund a program by 2/3 and by 90% of what they've asked for, what they've told us that cost is going to be, and then roll it into a forecast so that Minnesota taxpayers, Minnesota students never see what the true impact is going to be. We saw this on a number of bills that have come through, and we've made statutory changes to already. One on the education bill, we had a long discussion where our forecast was off by 80%. And this puts that to shame, Mr. Chair. Senator McEwen said she's worked with all the stakeholders, but not all the stakeholders are on board. The stakeholders have given us the cost, and she's just ignoring it. Senator McEwen said that there's no coercion or requirement that students join the union, but when Senate Republicans offered that amendment to clarify and strengthen that language in this provision, Senator McEwen opposed it, and it fell on a party line vote. So I don't know that we can trust that we've done the work with all the stakeholders. I think we've done the work with some of the stakeholders, but not all of them. And I don't think Senator McEwen has taken the necessary steps to ensure that students are not forced or coerced into this if they don't want to be. I'm not debating whether or not workers, I'm not pro-union or anti-union. I don't have an objection to if this is the right policy that it should move forward. What I am objecting to, Mr. President, or Mr. Chair, is that this is a half-baked idea. And the fact that we are just doing something to do something and maybe doing harm and underfunding our higher ed institutions for costs that will be passed on to students down the line, I think is reprehensible. Members, we should be striking out this provision and telling Senator McEwen and the stakeholders to get back to work and bring us back something that is more collaborative and benefits and does not put this on the backs of our students who are already struggling with massive student debt. And I request a yes vote, and I request a roll call.
A roll call has been requested on the A33 amendment. I'll ask that members who are on Zoom, please turn on your cameras for the vote. And if there's no further discussion, the staff will take the roll.
Senator Marty?
No.
Senator Friends?
No.
Senator Pratt?
Yes.
Senator Champion?
No.
Senator Dames?
Yes.
Senator Draheim?
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn? Senator Mohammed?
No.
Senator Murphy? Senator Pappas?
No.
Senator Westrom,
Yes.
Senator Wickland, Senator Eichhorn, Senator Murphy, Senator Eichhorn,
Senator Eichhorn, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay,
your vote, Senator?
wait, he's not on. He's losing contact. Yes, try again.
Senator Eichhorn,
I can hear you again now. Sorry. Eichhorn votes yes.
There being 5 ayes and 6 nays, the motion does not prevail. Is there further discussion, further amendments? Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to offer the A34.
Thank you.
Senator Draheim offers the A34 amendment, which will be distributed. Senator Draheim, the A34 amendment.
Thank you, Chair. E34 has to do with the broadband provision on page 45. You know, a couple reasons I bring this amendment forward. I used to serve on the Agriculture Committee, which had jurisdiction for broadband, and I carried a lot of bills for broadband. And I know how important it is for rural Minnesota. And when I got elected 8 years ago, there were a lot of sections of the state that did not have any coverage at all. And I know for the majority party who tend to live in more metropolitan areas, they have a lot of options for internet. I just Googled Duluth, and not counting the cell providers, there were half a dozen companies that came up that covered Duluth. For my area, I have one option. One option, that's it. And in rural Minnesota, you know, we have businesses, we have school, you know, during the pandemic. Our kids relied and still rely on the internet to do their homework and to turn in their homework. And then on a business side, a lot of our farming community use the internet for monitoring their livestock. And it might control the temperature, the food, security. And I'm worried that your provision in here will make it harder to find employees to put in what I call that last mile cable. So, you know, I definitely would hope that the author of the bill we'll factor that in as she moves forward with her underlying bill. I would also like to ask Senator McEwen, did this have a committee hearing in agriculture, the jurisdiction of broadband?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Senator Marty. Thank you for the question. No, it has not had a committee hearing in the Committee for Broadband.
Senator Drahan, continue.
Chair, you know, normally when stuff comes to finance, it's headed to the floor. And this is a major concern, I think, of all of rural Minnesota. To handcuff an industry that's already having a hard time finding help, it would slow down. And if I could ask nonpartisan staff, what is the enactment date of this provision?
You mean the effective date?
Effective date, yes.
Mr. Chair, members, it would be July 1, because this is in a finance bill. It does not have a date provided for the section, but it would be July 1 of 2024.
Continue.
Thank you. So July 1, we're done the end of May. That isn't a lot of time for cabling companies to get trained and to implement this. Senator McEwen, how were you going to handle that? What were you going to tell these companies? What should they do? Is there a program set up for the training portion of your bill?
The commissioner is supposed to develop it, so it wouldn't roll out right away after they develop it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Draheim. The provision of this bill relates to the duties of the Department of Labor and Industry, and the Department of Labor and Industry would be developing this program under the provision, so it wouldn't roll out right away. It would be developed.
Chair?
Senator Drahan.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator McEwen. So there's only a month time that they would be in statute to follow the guidelines that you're having in this bill, or what you're requiring. It's not workable. So I will leave it at that, Chair. I think it's pretty obvious that this provision in the underlying bill has not been properly vetted. It has not even had a committee hearing in its jurisdiction. So I am going to urge everybody to support it.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we've got someone that would like to make some comments on this section. Was it Senator Draheim? Was it? Do you recall the name?
Yeah, I do have. I think there's someone in the room that can help answer some questions. Melissa Wolf from MCCA.
Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself and address the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Melissa Wolf. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Cable Communications Association.
Mr. Chair, may I just ask the testifier to get a little closer to the microphone?
I'm sorry. Is that all right?
Thanks.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to provide some comments. MCCA is opposed to the inclusion of Article 6, Section 1 of this bill relating to underground telecommunications infrastructure. We are engaged with stakeholders on this language and have had continued discussions. We have also proposed a few options on compromise language. However, as of today, there have been no agreements on any language. Senator Draheim, to your comments, one of our biggest concerns with the language as is written is that it would cease all broadband installation and infrastructure deployment in the state. during the current construction season, upon enactment, this bill will require that there be a new certification standard for all broadband workers, and that they would need to be certified before continuing to do and deploy broadband. So as of July 1 of this bill, there would not be a broadband installer in the state that would be compliant with this, and we would have to cease deployment operations. Moreover, the certification program that Dolly is being asked to develop, the department testified in the House hearing that they do not believe they have the expertise to develop, and rather would just want to approve that program. So if this bill passes as is included in the omnibus bill now, we would lose all or nearly all of a construction season in broadband deployment.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. So on the Dolly statement, so they don't have anybody in-house that could develop the certification. Is that what you said?
Senator, Mr. Chair, member, Senator, that is correct. In the House hearing, I believe last week, the Deputy Commissioner asked that the language be amended from developed to approved, which I think is what they did in the House. And the reasoning was they did not believe they had the expertise to develop this program.
And Chair?
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Ms. Wolf, the program's 40 hours, right? So we're not talking an hour seminar or 2-hour seminar. It's a week-long training program. And any idea how long it would take to develop a program? Are there other states that have a program like that?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, members, Senator, I am not aware of other states that have this type of program or safety standards and training. We also believe that the 40-hour requirement is extensive and not necessarily based in fact. Until we have the learning objectives that should be established, it's impossible to know just how many hours of training will be necessary or appropriate. In addition to the certification standards in the bill, this is focused on directional boring and locating of facilities. Those are just 2 jobs that broadband installers do in the deployment of broadband. However, the bill would require every broadband installer to be trained and certified in directional boring and locating of facilities, whether they do that work or not. So we do have serious concerns that this will slow the deployment, cease it for sure this construction season, and slow it in the future.
Chair?
Senator Draheim, continue.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Wolf, have you talked to the Office of Broadband? Do you know if they support this provision in the bill?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, Senator Draheim, I do not know the exact position of the Office of Broadband Development on the bill.
Follow-up, Chair?
Continue.
Senator McEwen, do you know if the Office of Broadband supports your bill?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you for the question. I won't presume to answer for them. I know they've been, I have been in discussion with them, and they've been a part of the discussions around this bill with the stakeholders and intimately involved with that.
Chair, I'm just really concerned that we're moving forward with another provision that hasn't been vetted, that literally affects every aspect of every one of our lives. But I think in the rural areas, it's harder to find the staffing, and you don't have as many options. So there isn't as many companies to pick from. So I just urge everybody to support my amendment, and I would like to ask for a roll call on this. Sure.
Thank you, Senator Draheim. A roll call on Senate File on Amendment 834. Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would also like to ask Mr. Kevin Pranis to come up and offer us a little bit of information in response to some of the questions that we've heard in regard to this section of the bill and this amendment before the committee.
Okay. Welcome, and please identify yourself, Mr. Pranis, and go ahead, answer the question.
Thank you, Chair Marty. Kevin Pranis on behalf of Luna, Minnesota, North Dakota. Senator Draheim raises excellent questions that I think are very fair and that have been subject to extensive conversations. Ms. Wolf mentioned, in fact, the effective date is an important question. We agree with that. The reason that there is not yet an effective date is we wanted to make sure before arbitrarily throwing out a date that we had consulted adequately with the Department of Labor and Industry, talking to other stakeholders, but absolutely anticipate that July 1st, we would agree that July 1st of this year is not a realistic effective date. It wouldn't be our intention to do that. And so I would say that that work is ongoing and that there needs to be time to develop those programs. I'll say in terms of development of training programs, we anticipate that that's a fairly short turnaround. Certainly, we have a training program that some senators are familiar with that's capable of doing that. The operating engineers, Local 49, has a training program that I'm almost certain would be capable of delivering this. But we've also heard from, for example, the Minnesota Telecom Alliance about the excellent training programs that they already offer that are specific to broadband work. And so there's not a shortage of capable organizations to develop a training program. And I think to clarify what we heard from Department of Labor and Industry, they have expertise in evaluating and regulating, overseeing training and certification programs. What they expect, though, is for the industry and the stakeholders to come forward with their expertise in terms of what the contents of that should be. And also, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right? That as long as they meet the overall standard, there can be different programs offered by union and non-union or non-affiliated sources for that. And so I think we want to have a realistic framework for adopting this. I think 40 hours is very much the minimum we think that it would take if you're incorporating both hands-on and classroom instruction. And I would just clarify about the requirement, two things. One, this only applies when operating within 10 feet of existing underground utilities, because the entire purpose of this is to protect gas lines and other utilities from the too frequent strikes that are occurring today. And so there may be many areas in rural Minnesota where that's not even an issue and wouldn't be required. The other clarification, Ms. Wolf had indicated that each installer would be required to have that certification, but that's not true. The legislation only identifies 2 roles where it would be required. So if there's a crew of 8 people, right? At most 2 of those individuals would have to have that certification. This is not very different than what we do for water and sewer today with pipe layer certifications. That's a requirement across the industry. Obviously, we do a lot of water and sewer work in rural areas. We always have challenges recruiting people, but it's very similar to what we have today for pipe layers.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. And, I appreciate the comments, and, I think training is fantastic. I'm not against training. I think that's wonderful. But it has to be measured, and it has to be appropriate. And, having done some development and brought in infrastructure into developments before, I know most of the easements are all in the same, more or less, ditch. So most of the utilities are run in the same spot. So I think it would affect the majority, other than the last little piece for most properties would be affected by this. But it's clear that this isn't properly vetted, Chair, and it just needs more work. And I would recommend, I have my motion. I'd like to roll call the motion. And if I could do the math, I probably won't pass my amendment, but you never know. That as this moves forward, we table and get everybody in a room and figure out the proper training and the timeline and do it right next year. Otherwise, we're just going to have a mess and a lot of uncertainty in an industry that's already short workers. So please vote yes.
Senator Friends on the A34 amendment.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator McEwen. I have some of the same concerns as Senator Draheim. So we talked a little while ago about your openness to further conversation. If I had to simply vote on the merits, I'd be a yes on the A34 amendment. But I also want to open the door for you as the chief author to go have those conversations. I'm anxious for members to weigh in here. There are some different topics for different members that are sensitive. Where I live, rural broadband is a very serious matter, and things that potentially make it more difficult to deploy are a big NO. I guess what I would say, Mr. Chair, is I think we all agree we'd like some more conversation on this. I don't have to have the amendment go on, but that would be my instinct if I built my district. And if any other members want to just jump in here and offer their 2 cents, maybe that would help guide us here. Can I assume, Senator McEwen, you are open to some further conversations on this?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Draheim, Senator Friends, for this discussion and for sharing the concerns of your district. I appreciate that very much. Absolutely very open, and in fact, if it provides some comfort, I would be delighted today to make an oral amendment to change the effective date, just as a show of good faith, but I will continue even as we go into conference to engage in substantive discussion about what the final version of this bill will look like.
Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator McEwen, that is exactly the type of legislating I think we're looking for. Is there a chance that on the record here, you and Senator Draheim and I could agree on the change to the effective date? Put that on there and then agree we're going to talk soon? Is that in the ballpark? Mr. Chair and Senator McEwen?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would propose pushing out the effective date to July 1st, 2025, if that is agreeable.
We can't do that at this point, but I mean, but that obviously affects how people may be voting on the A34 amendment. So, Senator Draheim.
Chair, I will temporarily remove my amendment.
Senator Draheim temporarily withdraws the A34 amendment. Senator Friends or Senator Draheim on the effective date?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator McEwen. Again, this is exactly what we're looking for, is to try to work through this. You have my pledge to sit down with you and anyone else who wants to discuss it, and that includes Senator Draheim. With that, ready to support the bill moving forward. And thank you, Senator Draheim. I think that's exactly what we're looking for.
Is somebody moving the July 1st, 2025 deadline? Senator Draheim?
Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom, you got your hand up. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, I would move an oral amendment to extend the effective date out to July 1st, 2026. I think that would be more appropriate, but that would be my offer, oral amendment.
Could you restate the amendment?
To change the effective date from July 1st, 2024 to July 1st, 2026.
Senator McEwen.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you, Senator Westrom. Respectfully, I am sort of trying to balance here the need for some sense of urgency with this bill and adopting some of the provisions as we move forward, because we are going to have a large influx of work being done in the state in the very near future. So while I want to provide as much flexibility as possible with this enactment date, I also am very mindful that we need to move this along in a way that makes it effective, and so that what is contained in the bill will actually matter with the application of these federal funds into the state and this build out of a lot of broadband infrastructure, which we're all looking forward to. So respectfully, I appreciate the collaboration, but I think pushing it out to the 2026 is going to be too far. Again, I look forward to continued collaboration and to discussion as we go into conference. I'll be happy to continue discussing, but at this juncture, based on the discussion that we're having today, I'd like it to stay at the 2025 enactment date.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Pappas.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend the oral amendment to July 1st, 2025.
Yes, please. Ms. Stengel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I will state Senator Westrum's motion, and then I'll restate Senator Pappas's so we know what we're voting, or what the motions are. So Senator Westrum's motion was on page 46, after line 17, insert effective date. This section is effective July 1st, 2026. And Senator Pappas's motion was to amend the Westrum amendment by deleting 2026 and inserting 2025.
Is that clear? On the, Senator Westrum, you have your hand up. I'm not sure if you.
Well, Mr. Chair, I forgot to put it down, but I guess I'd just weigh in. As we just heard from a proponent testifier, they could not get it ready this summer, and it's not even ready to roll out. This is a pretty major change, and so I think it's prudent for 2 years, but certainly it's got more stops. It's got a conference committee, if it even can prevail in the legislative process this year. So the resistance to look at this for 2 years by the author is troubling, but I would speak in favor of keeping the original oral amendment. I think 2025 is still a rush, but I've got other concerns with this as well, Mr. Chair, so if you want to go to a vote on this.
Okay, we will, members, we will first vote on the Pappas amendment to the Westrum amendment, which would, she would change it so the effective date would be July 1st of next year, July 1st, 2025. Is there further discussion of that amendment? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No. No.
Motion prevails. Division has been requested. We'll ask those on Zoom to turn on their cameras for the vote. Those in favor of changing the effective date to 21/25 instead of 21/26 in the original Westrum amendment, raise their hands. Those opposed? By a vote of 6 in favor, 5 opposed, the Pappas amendment to the Westrum amendment has been adopted, and so we now have the Westrum amendment as amended that we establish on after line 17 of page 46, and this effective dates, this section is effective July 1st, 2025. On that motion, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Oops, Senator Westrum.
Mr. Chair, just a question for the author, Senator McEwen. Can you refresh my memory on when these broadband provisions went through our Agriculture and Rural Broadband Committee? Because I don't remember them.
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Westrum. The provision that we have in this labor finance omnibus bill relates to the duties of the Department of Labor and Industry. However, the bill had not been heard, the larger bill had not yet been heard in the Broadband Committee. That said, I have been in discussion with the chair of that committee and continue those discussions, as have the stakeholders, and that discussion continues. But the bill has not been heard in the Senate Broadband Committee.
Further discussion on Senator Westrum, continue.
Mr. Chair, and that was my concern, and that's what I thought was the case. But in case I stepped out or missed that portion of a meeting, Senator McEwen, this is a big issue that affects rural broadband. The hundreds of millions of dollars that you talk about that are coming into the state, which is why you want to rush this through. We haven't even went through the primary committee that deals with rural broadband policy. and funding in Minnesota. And so, Mr. Chair, while pushing this out 1 year is better than slamming it through for implementation in just over 2 months, I think there's a lot that needs to be discussed and looked at this. And I've got great concerns, so I would certainly urge us to support this amendment to extend it out at least 1 year. But there's a great concern with this, and with even the proponent testifying factually, which I appreciate, they at least are honest about the status. They are not ready for this if we were to push it through, but why we would push this through when we've got a rural broadband program that is a blue ribbon reputation that is an envy of just about every other state in our nation, Senator McEwen, is beyond me. And this is why it should be a vivacious discussion in our rural broadband committee, which has got the primary jurisdictions over this policy. So I urge support of this amendment, but still got grave concerns with what's going on here.
On the Westrom amendment as amended, which would set an effective date for section 1 on page 45, 46, set the effective date for July 1st, 2025. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion prevails. Further discussion or further amendments on the bill? Senator Draheim.
If I could just wrap up the broadband part real quick. Senator McEwen, you mentioned you were in discussions with Senator Putnam and the chair of the Ag Committee. Can you elaborate on why this hasn't been heard if you're in discussions with him? And my understanding, the other piece of the broadband proposal that isn't being tracked in this bill is, what, $1.7 million? Is that correct?
I would, Mr. Chair, I defer to our expert here to help us with this portion of the bill. Mr. Prentice.
Sure. Go ahead, Mr. Prentice.
Thank you, Chair Marty. Senator Draheim, I believe you're referring to the fiscal note on the House version of the bill, which contains other provisions directly related to the administration of grants. As we look at the bill, we have a hard time seeing anything close to 1.7 million, even the House version. That's not the version under discussion in the Senate. We are working very actively with a number of stakeholders, right, cooperatives, the Minnesota Telecom Alliance, sort of cable, to try to identify ways to right-size those portions of the bill. Those right sizings will almost certainly substantially reduce any amount of staffing that DEED would have to do there. And all of that, almost the entirety of that $1.7 million is related to DEED staffing. And so we are actively working to minimize the burden on DEED of any provisions that would be adopted. So understand the concern. Don't think you'll see anything in the ballpark of 1.7 million as a result of changes that we're working on. And again, this is just for the House version of the bill.
Chair?
Senator Draheim.
Senator McEwen, can you just elaborate then on why this hasn't been heard in ag and the broadband sector that's jurisdiction?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, as I said, the provision that we've included relates to our jurisdiction. It's the safety and DLI provision, that I can't comment on why other provisions haven't been heard in the Broadband Committee. You'd have to speak with Chair Putnam.
Chair.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator McEwen. You know, I've only been here 8 years. I know my neighbor next to me here and some of the other members on the table have been here a lot longer than I have, but I have never seen a broadband portion go through without going through the proper committee. There normally isn't a ton of bills on broadband, 2 or 3 a year. So it's just disappointing that it wasn't fully vetted in a committee of its jurisdiction. So thank you.
Further discussion on the bill. Senator Westrom, is your hand still raised, or is it?
It is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, to the author, so Senator McEwen, has Senator Putnam give you clearance to not have to have your bill referred to the Ag and Rural Broadband Committee? The full bill that you're referring to, is that what he's communicated to you?
Senator McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, again, the bill that I believe that you're referring to had been referred to the Broadband Committee, and you'd have to discuss with the chair that status. This provision that is before the committee today that is in our Labor Finance Omnibus is within the jurisdiction of the Labor Committee and pertains to safety issues which are under the purview of the Department of Labor and Industry.
Well, Mr. Chair, Senator McEwen, when a chair has the jurisdiction of a broad topic like rural broadband and parts of the policy that you're trying to change are going to dramatically affect the finances and the funding of the program, I can't see any logical reason or precedent reason that we wouldn't have that discussion in the Committee of Primary Jurisdiction. And so it feels like you're trying to skirt the Rural Broadband Committee here. Doesn't sound like you've gotten a clear exclusion from Senator Putnam of the bill. And that bill should be discussed if we're going to make this major of a change to it. That is very concerning with the testimony we just heard as well. Mr. Chair, it's pretty obvious this part of the bill is not ready for prime time, should not be considered and bypassed in committees. I would move to re-refer this to the Ag and Rural Broadband Committee and ask for a roll call vote, Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom moves that Senate File 5266 be referred back to the Agriculture and Rural Development Committee. And as chair, I will just comment that while I understand disagreements over parts of the bill, I don't think that this bill is appropriately being referred back there, so I would urge a no vote. Is there further discussion on the Westrom motion? A roll call was requested, and staff will take the roll. And those on the Zoom, please turn on your cameras for voting purposes.
Senator Marty?
No.
Senator Friends?
Nope.
Senator Pratt?
Yes.
Senator Champion?
No.
Senator Dames?
Yes.
Senator Draheim?
Yes.
Senator Eichhorn?
Eichhorn votes yes.
Senator Mohammed?
No.
Senator Murphy? Senator Pappas?
No.
Senator Westrom?
Yes.
Senator Wickland?
No.
Senator Murphy?
By a vote of 5 yes and 6 no, the motion does not prevail. Further discussion or amendments on the bill? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if we could ask Ms. Wolf to come back up for a couple of questions.
Ms. Wolf, welcome back to the committee. Go ahead, Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Wolf, we heard contradictory testimony to yours that this is simply a safety issue, that there's been good communication between the two. You're probably close to an agreement. I didn't get that from your testimony. Would you say that there's good, fruitful conversation going on right now?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Pratt. We have had productive conversations. We have offered a couple of different proposals on compromise language. We have not heard anything back on that. So I would say I don't believe we're close to any agreed upon language. I just would say that conversations are still ongoing.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Wolf. I was wondering if I could ask Mr. Omen just a quick question.
Mr. Omen, welcome to the committee. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Omen, on the PELRIS section that was before us, Senator McEwen said that neither organization had opposed this bill. Do you oppose the PELRIS section? Does Minnesota State oppose the PELRIS section?
Mr. Omen, please identify yourself first and go ahead.
Chair Marty Bernie Omen with Minnesota State Colleges and Universities. Senator Pratt, we do not support the changes that are before us in the PELRA. We believe that the work that we do with our students and our student groups is a robust conversation from the beginning of a semester to the end of semester, and that's where those conversations should lay. And particularly when there is a short in the fiscal note, and the reality of us coming back next year and saying, oh, by the way, we have a shortfall in this provision, and taking that to the Higher Ed Committee. Senator, you've been on the Higher Ed Committee, a number of you had. I don't think that would be all that well received considering this student service work that we continue to bring forward. So we are very comfortable with the current process that we have in student consultation, as is our students. These are not, I just want to clarify, these are not student groups that get together, once a month and talk about what mascots and names should be. These are professional organizations. They all have professional staff, executive directors, government relations specialists, communication folks, and they're very active, and they're not shy, and they bring their concerns to us, and it's not like we just meet with them. It's very similar to a meet and confer process of our unions, and that's the culture that we have at Minnesota State. And I'd just like to point out that at Minnesota State colleges and universities, over 95% of our employees are members of bargaining groups. We're talking about the undergrads here that are part of work study, a federal financial aid program. That's what we're talking about, and that's why we have raised concerns with the senator and others.
Senator Pratt.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not anticipating, I guess, any more amendments. And I don't know how close we are coming to a vote and how many members want to speak, but I'll just give my take on this. The author came in and said she had been collaborating with stakeholders on the various provisions in this bill. It's clear to me that she has not found a collaborative position with key stakeholders on the PELRA piece, on the broadband piece in particular. Her inability to manage her bill schedule steps on multiple committees, the Ag Committee, the Jobs Committee, just to name two that we brought up today. And Mr. Chair, and then, let me just add, to then, as Mr. Omen just said, to underfund this program, to just decide that Minnesota State can take a tenth of what they anticipate, and University of Minnesota, you're just going to get a third, because we think we know better than the experts who have put together these fiscal notes. Now, I'll agree. I have absolutely no confidence in a lot of the fiscal notes that the agencies put together. We've seen it too many times in these adjustment bills. But they've always been on the low side, not the high side. And when we, as the Finance Committee, to not have clarity on some of these positions, as you've stated on many occasions, Mr. Chair, we are the final stop before a vote. We talked yesterday about a provision in the education bill to continue the conversation. This is not the committee that passes out provisions for conversation. This is the committee that passes out bills that are intended to become law. And Senator McEwen has not found that compromise position. I find it interesting that Governor Walz has talked about regulatory humility. This is anything but regulatory humility that's being pushed by this labor bill. This is anything but regulatory humility that's being pushed by the Department of Labor and Industry, who seems to have forgotten that they have an "and" in their name. This is not regulatory humility when we have $1.4 million in new penalties going to fund, or I'm sorry, more than that. No, $1.4 million in the tails to fund ongoing spending, and $712,000 in this to fund ongoing expenses at the Department of Labor and Industry, well above what they've anticipated just to manage the program. We are using penalties as a tax increase. Now, this was denied last week when we heard the misclassification bill. No, we're not doing that. We see it in the spreadsheet, Mr. Chair, right here. I just can't believe the Minnesota Senate, a deliberative body of men and women elected to do what's good for the state, men and women who are elected to pass good policy, are allowing for a higher ed bill to be underfunded and becoming roughly an unfunded mandate that will fall to our students, is passing broadband language that's not agreed upon by key stakeholders. It doesn't even appear that there's been conversations until late with some of the stakeholders. That's using a penalty as a de facto tax increase to increase spending even more than the 40% that was put on last year. And Mr. Chair has purposefully admitted that key provisions in this bill have not been heard by the Jobs and Agriculture Committee, who have jurisdiction over key portions of this. Mr. Chair, I think Senator Westrom said it best. This bill is not ready for prime time. And this bill should not pass this committee. And I am disappointed in the DFL majority today if they allow a bill with this kind of track record that we've discussed today to pass. I am disappointed in a DFL majority that circumvents the rules of the Minnesota Senate, those that we've agreed upon up until now, to violate the jurisdictions that we've posted for the public just for expediency. Our rules are not there to slow projects down, and they should not be overrun simply to push something through on some arbitrary timeline. Mr. Chair, we have to do our work. We have to do the work that the people sent us here to do. We have to do it in a way that we've prescribed and told the public that we would do it. So I'm asking members to vote no on this bill because it has not followed the process and it does not have the agreement among major stakeholders and is not ready for prime time. So, Mr. Chair, I encourage members to vote no.
Further discussion on the bill? If not, Senator McEwen, final comments on the bill.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Westrom, I'm sorry I did not see your hand up.
I just did it quickly here. But, Mr. Chair, is there a roll call on this final passage?
No, but we will be glad to add one if you want one.
Chair, I would ask for one.
The roll call has been requested. Mr. Chair. Senator Pratt.
May I, if Senator Westrom wouldn't mind, I'd like to amend his request for a roll call with the results to be printed in the journal, and I think we can get 3 hands for that.
Are there 3 hands for that? Okay. We will assume that's...
My hand is up, Mr.
Yes, okay. Go ahead. We will have it printed in the journal. Yes. Go ahead, Senator Westrom. Or were you
Mr.
done?
Chair, that's all. Go ahead to
Okay. Thank
finish.
you.
I think people know where I'm at on this.
We do not have a motion, but when there is a motion, we will have that on. We will vote to lay over the bill because we are going to combine it with 2 other bills on Monday. But with that, we will have that motion, assuming that's the one that you wanted to have a roll call vote and printed in the journal. Senator McEwen, any final comments on the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members, for the discussion about this bill today. I am extremely proud of this bill. I'm very, very pleased to be presenting it before you today. I am thankful to all of the people who contributed to make the bill what it is, a broad coalition of workers on each section of the bill throughout the state of Minnesota. It puts the people of the state first. It is looking into the future, and it represents really excellent work on the part of staff and on the part of workers of this state. So respectfully, I ask for your support, and I thank Senator Pratt for requesting the roll call and that it be published. Thank you.
Okay, and Senator Wicklund said she will be back in about 2 minutes, so we will, and she wanted to vote on this as well.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Westrom.
If it's appropriate now, nobody else is online, but Mr. Chair, so can you clarify what is the actual motion, or is it going to just be a chair statement that the bill will be laid over for?
It's eligible for a chair statement to just lay the bill over, but I was thinking because there's request for it to be roll call and everything, that we can do that. That way we're actually having a vote on the bill today. And then when we take up the bill on Monday, combine it. We are not planning to rehear this bill. We are planning to consider merging this bill with 2 other bills, into the transportation omnibus bill on Monday, and at that time, we will be voting on the entire package. But I figured since people want this roll called and printed in the journal, I will ask if Senator Friends will move that Senate File 5266 as amended be recommended for inclusion in the omnibus bill on Monday. Is that? So moved. Is that? In other words, we're voting to lay it over for inclusion in the bill on Monday. Mr. Nauman.
Mr. Chair, I'll just, at the risk of confusing things further, the final, a chair can lay this on the table without any, there's unfettered access to just lay it on the table. Maybe it's a question for the members who wish to have a roll call and have it printed in the journal, what their pleasure is, given the intention to lay the bill on the table. I can imagine a couple of options that at a date later, when the bill is proposed for inclusion in the larger bill or the combined bill, maybe that's the venue where a roll call could be sought and printed in the journal, or on final passage.
And
Because those are
Right.
legitimately recorded votes.
And I expect that I will turn it over to the lead, Senator Pratt, to ask you what you would prefer. I mean, obviously, I can just lay this over, and that is what we're planning to do for inclusion into the bill, and you can obviously have a roll call vote then, but would you prefer that instead, or would you rather have it recorded now?
Mr. Chair, I think we can do it at the point in time that the bill's combined.
Okay, with that, the chair,
Sure.
Senator Westrom, any,
Mr. Chair, being I had made the original motion for the roll call, I'll withdraw that request with the understanding that it's going to be laid over and we'll be voting on it
you will
Monday.
have a chance to vote on it at that time, and we will keep in mind that there has been a request for that vote to have a roll call reported in the journal. On that, the chair will lay over Senate File 5266 as amended for inclusion in the bill on Monday. Thank you, Senator McEwen, and thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Olafson and Ms. Doyle-Fontaine. We are going to take up Senate File 5335, and I will, before we do that, and I know Senator Hoffman's down here now and so on, but before we do that, I will ask the committee, I'm not sure that there are a lot of amendments on this. Senator Hoffman has a major one of taking out some things in the bill, but we'll ask members, would you prefer to have a brief break for meals, which are very difficult to get people back from, or would you like to power through?
Mr. Chair, I would just suggest we power through. A 5-minute break?
5 minutes. Is that okay with members? 5-minute break. This committee's in recess for 5 minutes. Okay, committee's in recess. This meeting of the Senate Finance Committee will come back to order. We have one more bill on the agenda for today, Senate File 5335, Senator Hoffman, the Human Services Omnibus Budget Bill.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you for hearing the Human Services Omnibus first engrossment conversation in front of your Finance Committee. And what you have is in front of you, we're going to go through both the articles and as well as the budget sheet for you. There are some amendments that we needed to bring. And let me explain this to you. Two things that you had asked, Mr. Chair. You and Mr. Nauman had said make sure you are careful of the tails. So what you'll see in your spreadsheet is not only are we careful of the tails, we were lock stock where it needs to be. And the same with the small amount of money that you gave to human services, which really makes up 23% of our allotted needs in the state of Minnesota. But I appreciate that, even though you still owe me $170 million, Senator Marty. I will not bring that up anymore, but that's fine. But what you have in front of you, Senator, Mr. Chair and members, is our work to make sure that we stayed within the fiduciary responsibility of the allotted money that was given us. And then you'll also see, Mr. Chair, as we move forward, this is a committee that operates like no other committee, I think. We really look at, there were 34 amendments that we had in our markup, and we all had under the understanding that they all fit within the theme of why we do what we do when it comes to human services, Senator Marty, and they really make some good programmatic decisions. There were some of those, which you'll see in the amendments that we have, that our committee was well aware of, that we were waiting either on a fiscal note that, in one case, the fiscal note was like $18 million in the tails. Going to the first thing that we said was, we were going to be fiduciary responsible to the tails piece, so there's just no way we could do that, as well as some other ones that were, the feds had raised a little question on, no, 3 years really should be 1 year, and with that, it was our committee's understanding that if those types of things came up, that we would not include them, and then we would absolutely, hopefully, get into conference committee and really talk about the differences between the House and the Senate. So with that, Mr.
Chairman.
Chair.
Senator Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your permission, if I might interrupt for a second, Senator Hoffman has just struck fear into my heart when he said we're going to go through the articles, because in finance we focus on finance, not policy. So, and secondly, I have Senator Hoffman beat in that Senator Marty owes me $650 million. And finally, just a reminder, we haven't had lunch. And some of us didn't get a donut.
Okay, now I'm getting that. Mr. Chair, if I may, to Senator Pappas's point, forget it. The article discussion can be your gentle, kindly reading, and if you want to get in the weeds on that, feel free to give me a call. I can give you my cell phone number on that one, but you are correct to the good senator from St. Paul's point. So with that, Senator Marty and Mr. Chair and team, I have with me Kyle Raymond, who's our fiscal analyst, and also Leah Monahan, who forgets more in a day than anybody in this room will ever know when it comes to how to align statutes up to something else. So with that, Mr. Chair, I am ready to talk.
Thank you. And before we turn to Mr. Raymond to go through it, I wonder if we should put on the amendments, because these amendments are the ones that reflect your changes that are, I believe, incorporated into the spreadsheet. Senator Friends moves the A39 amendment, which we will, as soon as we adopt it, would incorporate, well.
Mr. Chair, respectfully, I think you may want to begin with the A38 because the A39 amends.
Yes, I'm sorry, I thought I meant to say A38, but I had A39 as well in front of me. Senator Friends moves the A38 amendment, which will be, in a minute, we hope, and have the A39 added to it to take a couple of technical corrections. So Senator Friends moves the A38 amendment. Is there any discussion? If not, this is the changes to reflect what they found out from the fiscal notes and so on. With that, the A38 amendment is in front of us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. And to that, Senator Friends offers A39 amendment, which is technical changes in the A38 amendment. Is there any further discussion of that? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. Now with the bill in that shape, that's the shape that the spreadsheet that Mr. Raymond is going to go through is in, I believe. Senator Westrom, you've got your hand up. Do you have a question at this point?
Mr. Chair, I do have the A37, so I guess I just defer to the author of the bill.
Senator Hoffman's ready to go with that, but I'm going to turn to Mr. Nauman first.
Mr. Chair and Senator Westrom, just for a little bit of clarity, would you like to have the A37 handed out to the committee while staff is working through the spreadsheet?
That'd be fine, Mr. Nauman.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know if the chair or the author wanted that amendment now potentially, or after we go through the walkthrough. I didn't know if that was part of the context that they'd be discussing or not. So the author can tell you, Mr. Chair, which is best.
Senator Hoffman, you like it now or?
Mr. Chair, I'm fine, because this is a real simple, all this does is and members will see, you got Centers for Independent Living, HCBS access grants. So these are grant activities, right? We moved the date. Instead of March 31st, 2024, we went to June 30th, 2025. It doesn't change anything other than gets the extra time for those grants that we actually facilitated in fiscal year 2022. And that's all it is. It's a simple extension. That's it.
I want to make sure that all members have the committee, which is the amendment which is being handed out. So it puts a retroactive effective date to March 31st and then extends the grant activities until June 30th, 2025.
Correct.
On the Westrom motion, the Senate file of A37 be added as an amendment. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion prevails. Now we'll try and have Mr. Raymond go ahead with the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Kyle Raymond, Fiscal Analyst to the Human Services Committee. As I'm sure you all can tell, I am fighting, my voice is a little strained from a bug from having a 6-month-old in daycare, so I'm going to try to get through as much of the spreadsheet as I can, voice permitting. So the spreadsheet before you, I'll just start with the version of the spreadsheet. It should be from April 25th in the bottom right-hand corner at 5:40 p.m. So my understanding is the Health and Human Services spreadsheets are a little different from others, so I'll just provide a brief overview before going into the content. The right-hand set of columns includes what is included in the bill. And this does reflect the A38 amendment that was just adopted. The A39 did not have any impact on the spreadsheet, and then the A37 obviously is not included. Excuse me. So the right-hand set of columns includes that information. It's in the center set of columns is the governor's budget recommendations. The left-hand side includes descriptive information. So the first half of the first page includes to all funds information for the budget area, followed by agency by fund totals, and then starting on line 115, it goes into specific proposals included in the bill by agency. So I'll first start at on lines 10 and 11. Senator Hoffman already mentioned the target, the general fund target of $42,130,000 in the first biennium and $14,860,000 in the tails. The bill, as just adopted by the committee, meets the target. And in addition, there were a few amendments that were adopted out of Human Services that there was uncertainty about the costs. All of those have been addressed in what is in the bill that was just adopted. So as we understand it, the bill the target fully encompasses that amount. So moving, and I will just point out on line 13, that is the general fund total that matches the target. So now moving down to the specific proposals, I'll start on lines 117 and 124 because they are related. The first is on line 117 is a governor's proposal to expand access to direct care and treatment psychiatric beds. That is not included. It's a governor's proposal that was not included in the bill. However, a modified version of that is included in line 124. This is a Senate proposal that modifies priority emissions, makes modifications to. This results from the Priority Emissions Task Force recommendations. There's a number of proposals included within this. The one related to expanding DCT, it includes a modified version of the governor's proposal that does not include the closure of a care facility in Carlton. So that adds cost to the proposal, and that is fully funded within line 124. In addition, there's an extension of the existing task force into a priority emissions review board, as well as there are some non-budget items that result, including a 10-patient exemption. So that is included within line 124. So now moving to page 2, line 132, this is a governor's proposal related to acute care transitions for people with disabilities and complex health conditions. This governor's proposal includes about 5 components, and Senator Hoffman includes 4 of those, 1 in modified form. So this proposal funds, it allows disability waiver workers to provide services in hospitals. It also it provides enhanced budget rates for individuals on elderly waiver with high behavioral health support needs. It funds transition planning in the alternative care program, and it also funds min choices changes related to registered nurse experience requirements, as well as the timing out of initial assessments. The last component of this proposal that's included is in modified form from what the governor had. So this provides administrative funding to the Department of Human Services to develop a tribal MA vulnerable adult developmental disabilities targeted case management benefit. In the governor's budget, it was funded ongoing. In Senator Hoffman's, in the bill before you all, the costs are 3 years of funding is provided in fiscal year 2025, and carry forward is provided through fiscal year 2027. So moving next to line 155, this was one additional component that's related to the acute care transitions proposal I just referred to. There included in that proposal was a study to allow PCA services in hospitals. There was prior funding included for that purpose. So the proposal on line 155 includes a reporting requirement related to the prior appropriation. Moving next to line 157, this is a governor's proposal related to reducing recidivism. It funds an 1115 medication waiver, as well as provides ongoing funding for the Bridging Benefits Program, which is aimed at reducing recidivism. So the 1115 waiver is not funded in the version of the bill the committee just adopted. And there is one-time funding provided for the Bridging Benefits Program. It's sufficient to cover 3 years of the proposal provided in fiscal year 2025 with carry forward authority through fiscal year 2027. So moving next to line 174, this is a governor's proposal related to modifications to opiate allocation. So this, what is included in the bill is a modified version from the governor's proposal that includes the modifying of the opiate allocation formula and an expanded use related to prevention related activities, and also includes adding an ex officio ORAC member. However, the governor's proposal included eliminating the sunset on fees from opioid manufacturers and distributors, so that elimination of the sunset is not included in the bill. Moving next to line 187, this is a proposal related to a governor's proposal relating to the disproportionate share program. The governor sunsetted the program. In the version included in the bill, this would reduce their rate floor to $141 per day. The cost of this proposal in the first biennium, the savings, would be just under $950,000 in the first biennium and just under $6.2 million in savings in the tails. Moving next to line 192, this proposal provides separation authority for direct care and treatment as a separate agency from the Department of Human Services. The legislature enacted last year and funded a proposal to do this work. A technical statutory change amendment has been has, I believe, been signed by the governor, and this is the third component that establishes the board and provides the Department of Care and Direct Care and Treatment to establish the board and make other, give the Direct Care and Treatment the statutory authority needed as a independent state agency. Moving next to line 195, this is the governor's proposal that includes various technical cleanup items related to the 2023 budget bill. This includes carry forward authority for admin where the programmatic funds were extended, but the admin associated with it was not. In addition, it involves a changing of a budget activity level, which you can see on lines 199 and then moving to page 4, line 200. So it just moves one budget activity code to the other. In addition, there are the technical cleanup includes a removal of an expiration date for the financially distressed nursing facility loan program. So it just removes the statutory definition because the loans would still be occurring at the end of fiscal year 2029, which is authority was extended through that period of time in the bill last year. And in addition, there's a couple of other changes related that just align the statutory or session law language with what was included in the spreadsheet last year. So moving next to line 202, and I'll note starting here, the bill index that Mr. Monahan prepared roughly mostly aligns with the order of the spreadsheet items. So if there is a desire for additional information on any of these, you should be able to follow along with the bill index. So for line 202, this eliminates certain parental fees. This is funded in the first biennium at $239,000, and then there's an ongoing cost in the tails of $478,000. Moving next to line 206, this establishes a temporary exception to new community residential settings licensing moratorium, and this is a budget neutral proposal. Moving next to line 208, this modifies home and community-based service standards for out-of-home respite services for children. This has a fiscal effect in the first biennium of $155,000 and then just under $1.7 million in the tails ongoing. The next proposal is on line 213. This makes modifications to the electronic visit verification system. This proposal is, and I'll just note that the specific changes are to provide data access to vendors and also permit weekly electronic documentation of certain service visits. So the fiscal effect of this proposal is just over $160,000 in the first biennium and $300,000 in the tails. Moving next to line 217, this proposal modifies min-choice assessments. This is a budget neutral proposal. Moving next to line 219, this proposal increases the transitional supports reimbursement maximum allowance to just over $4,100. Currently, it is $3,000. The fiscal effect of this proposal in the first biennium is $240,000, and in the tails is just over $1.2 million. Moving next to line 225, this modifies disability waiver technology provisions. In this proposal is provided one-time funding of $786,000 in fiscal year 2025, and carry forward is provided for this proposal through fiscal year 2027. Moving next to line 231, this is a proposal that modifies the provider capacity grant for rural and underserved communities. This is budget neutral, and this is because it amends funding that was provided last year for this grant and just specifies a purpose. One moment. Looks like I do not have the language in front of me. One moment. Here it is. So for this proposal, it is specifying that $250,000 of the original appropriation, which was just over $17 million, is for a grant to a nonprofit for culturally specific outreach and an education campaign. Moving next to page 5, line 233. This is a budget neutral proposal that modifies a definition in a grant that was funded last year relating to long-term care workforce new grants for new Americans. Moving next to line 235, this is a proposal that establishes a Family Residential Services Advisory Task Force. This proposal is funded in fiscal year 2025 at one time of just over $650,000, and carry forward authority is provided through fiscal year 2027. Moving next to line 241, this proposal authorizes assistive technology lead agency partnerships. There have been multiple versions of this proposal that have changed throughout the process. So this is a budget neutral proposal that was provided via TA through the department. I believe Senator Hoffman mentioned in his opening remarks that this was the proposal, that the version as it passed out of committee had roughly $18 million expense in the tails. Moving next to line 234, this requires the Department of Human Services to provide draft legislation related to PCA and CFFS reimbursement increases. This is funded at a one-time cost of $5,000 in fiscal year 2024. Moving next to line 247, this funds a disability services continuous improvement study. This is funded at a one-time expense to the state of $250,000 funded in fiscal year 2025. Moving next to line 252, this proposal establishes emergency relief grants for financially distressed EIDBI providers. This is funded at a one-time cost of $648,000 in fiscal year 2025. Excuse me. Moving next to line 258, this provides funding for own home services provider capacity building grants. This is funded at a one-time expense of just over $5.2 million, and this would have carry forward through fiscal year 2025, or 2027, excuse me. Moving next to page 6, line 264, this proposal establishes a pediatric hospital-to-home transition pilot program. This is funded at just over $1.3 million in fiscal year 2025. This is one time and has carry forward authority through fiscal year 2027. Moving next to line 271, this provides state-only funding for personal assistance services provided by parents and spouses. This was temporarily allowed federally starting in November of fiscal year 2023. It was no longer allowed. So this would cover, since CFSS has been adopted, which also includes personal assistance services by parents and spouses. So this would temporarily cover a gap with state-only funds for this purpose. So moving next, this was funded at just over $4.8 million in fiscal year 2025, a one-time expense. Moving next to line 278, this modifies small assisted living facility food code requirements. This is a budget neutral proposal. Moving next to line 280, this provides additional funding for caregiver respite services grants. This proposal is funded at a one-time expense of just over $4.3 million in fiscal year 2025, and carry forward authority would be provided through fiscal year 2027. Moving next to line 287, this proposal provides a property rate payment increase to certain nursing facilities. This is funded at $288,000 in the first biennium and just over $1 million in the tails. Moving next to line 291, this is a proposal that increases the property rate under the moratorium exception process to a nursing facility in Minnetonka. This is a budget neutral proposal. This is a statutory appropriation for this moratorium exception process. And what this proposal does, this is why it's budget neutral, is that it would, from the allotted amount, about $83,000 per year would be for this moratorium, or excuse me, for this nursing facility in Minnetonka. Moving next to line 293, this proposal funds grants to partially offset electronic visit verification implementation costs for home care service providers. This is funded one time at just over $1.7 million in fiscal year 2025. Moving next to page 7, line 299, this proposal provides funding for Beltrami County and Todd County debt forgiveness for certain cost of care payments related to direct care and treatment. So this proposal would be funded one time at $724,000 in fiscal year 2024. Moving next to line 304, this would establish an engagement services pilot project. This is funded one time in fiscal year 2025 at $250,000. Moving next to line 308, this would temporarily provide free communications for patients of clients of certain direct care facilities. So this is funded at a one-time cost of $292,000 in fiscal year 2025. This would be enough to cover the service-only portion from the fiscal note from fiscal years 2025 and 2026. So the temporary free communications would be provided for 2 years. Moving next to line 312, this proposal provides, this is a cancellation and carry forward of direct care and services pilot project. This was a proposal funded in last year's Human Services bill, and it would extend the funding, the remaining funding in the new appropriation through fiscal year 2026. Moving next to line 316, this provides funding for a health awareness hub pilot project as well as Chapter 245D HCBS compliance support grants. The proposal is funded at just over $1 million in fiscal year 2025. Moving next to line 321, this is a proposal providing funding for caregiver supports programs that have an ALS specific respite service. This is funded in fiscal year 2025, one time at an expense of $5 million. Moving next to line 325, this provides funding for capital improvement accessibility payments for adults with developmental disabilities. This is one-time funding in fiscal year 2025 of $400,000. Moving next to page 8, line 329, this provides funding for linguistically and culturally specific training. This is funded one time in fiscal year 2025 at $650,000. Moving next to line 333, this establishes a Dakota County Disability Services Workforce Shortage Pilot Program. This is funded one time in fiscal year 2025 at just over $1.2 million. Moving next to line 339, this provides funding for an Artists with Disabilities Support Grant. This proposal is funded at $690,000 in fiscal year 2025 and would have carry forward authority through fiscal year 2027. Moving next to line 343, this proposal funds a grant to Accessibility Space Incorporated to temporarily offset integrated community supports nursing costs, and this is funded one time in fiscal year 2025 at an amount of $250,000. Moving next to line 347, this proposal provides additional funding for self-advocacy grants. This is funded at just under $650,000 in fiscal year 2025. Moving next to line 352, this provides a one-time rate adjustment for the Critical Access Nursing Facility Program. This proposal is funded at just over $3.2 million in fiscal year 2025, and carry forward authority is provided through fiscal year 2027 for this appropriation. Moving next to line 356, this would implement the opioid treatment program rate methodology modifications 1 year earlier. This was funded last year and was set to go into effect in fiscal year 2026, or excuse me, at January 1st, 2026, and it said this would move it to January 1st, 2025. And this is funded at a one-time cost of just over $1.7 million in fiscal year 2025. Moving now to page 9, line 364. This proposal provides funding for grants to CWA's South Asian Persons of Neurodiverse Abilities Program, as well as their senior program. The total grant amount would be $500,000 in fiscal year 2025. And now moving, these last two proposals relate to underspend in the Department of Human Services. On line 368, there's an administrative underspend in fiscal year 2024 of just over $2.4 million. So this would result in a savings. And then on line 372, there was a withdrawal management grant underspend in fiscal year 2024 of $500,000. Moving now to the Department of Health, line 428, this would establish a community care hub grant. This is a one-time expense of $554,000. Moving next to line 433, this proposal modifies assisted living facilities staff training. This has an ongoing state government special revenue expense of $12,000 in the first biennium, and then an ongoing expense of $48,000 in the tails. Moving to line 437, this proposal provides funding for a grant for Chapter 144G compliance support. This is assisted living facilities. This is a one-time expense of $420,000 in fiscal year 2025, $170,000 of which is from the general fund, and $250,000 would be funded with state government special revenue funds. Moving next to to the Council on Disability, there's one proposal on line 531 that provides the funding to establish the Legislative Task Force on Guardianship. This is funded at a one-time amount in fiscal year 2025 of $400,000. And that concludes my remarks for the spreadsheet. I will just note for the appropriations article, all of the changes included in the 838 amendment that the committee adopted were either technical in nature, or they were to conform the appropriations article to the changes made in the spreadsheet that I just went through.
All articles, I want him to go through. I'm kidding.
Mr. Chair, I could answer any questions members may have, unless Senator Pappas wants to amend her earlier request that I go through it.
I think that's from before. think they might be old, huh?
Senator Westrom, maybe you couldn't hear me. Senator Westrom, I see your hand is raised. Do you have any question?
No, I don't, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And a quick question on the spreadsheet. I've got it online here, but I'm having a hard time getting it to a size that I can actually read. Thank you for putting stuff in extremely small font for old people. But I think it has to do with Senate File 4174. I think it's on page 4 of the spreadsheet. I'm curious. Line 231. Thank you very much. I see in the bill that for what appears to be this grant amount, we've got a number in here, and I'm trying to figure out what we're doing specifically for Senate File 4174 and why there are hashtags in the spreadsheet, because I also don't see the language from Senate File 4174 in the bill.
Mr. Raymond.
Mr. Chair, Senator Pratt, so for this proposal, I should have mentioned, it's a modified version, so the language for 4174 isn't in the bill, but it's the same, it's for the same purpose. So the changes, the reason why it's a hashtag proposal is because it's specifying that from an appropriation made last year, there's just under 17.2 million provided for provider capacity grants for rural and underserved communities. And then it's amending that rider from last year and specifying that within that amount, 250,000 is for a grant to a nonprofit organization to conduct culturally specific outreach and education.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Hoffman, is that specifically for the excellence? Trying to remember the name. Excellence in Long-Term Care Organization.
Mr. Chair, thank you for that question. That was the original request, but now it's competitive. So when we're doing that, it's just, then there's two, you see there's two $250,000. This one, the original request was for that, but now it's competitive. It's put into the competitive bucket.
Senator Pratt, keep going.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious because it seems to be very specific language on who can compete for that 250,000. Are there multiple, or can you name some of the other organizations that would qualify under for this grant with using this language?
Yeah, Senator Marty and Senator Pratt, yeah, there's tons. I mean, when you look at, remember when the whole change, I mean, this is all, talk about human services, right? The whole change went to 144G, all of a sudden, boom, you had 800 providers that were doing services that were customized, services within the now 144G world, right? And if you look at the different organizations that are part of that, they came up with a new organization. There's RPM, but then you have MOHAR. You have all these different organizations that are out there that are also working within the field of disability-related stuff. And this one, you have, like in Senator Utke's backyard, there's Wellness in the Woods, groups like that exist out there that I think would all be more than capable and able to provide that type of level of technical assistance that's needed in this realm of human services. Does that make sense?
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that, Senator Hoffman. And all those organizations would fall under the culturally specific outreach and education campaign that.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, I think one of the things that there's this conversation of intersectionality. I've been trying to help people understand, if you have all these different intersections in life, right? What's the one thing that cuts across all of them is disability, right? When you start to talk about it, you say, okay, well, I have this, and this. As soon as you add disability to this. You remember, you and I were freshmen. Governor Dayton had put together this young women's collaborative, this young women's consortium. Remember, you had high school students and college students apply to be in this young women's cabinet, is what he put. And that was when I first started hearing about this intersection conversation, intersectionality. And there's one woman, and she passed away because there was built-in ableism at a hospital that she went. They didn't believe that she had the pain that she had. She died. She taught us, she was part of that group, right? And it saddens me to think, all right, she had all these intersections. She was a young woman, African-American, lived with autism, had LGBTQ, the whole, and then there was a fifth one there too. And she said to us at one time, the one that she experiences the most discrimination or misunderstanding and ableism is living with autism. And it just kind of blew me away. It's like, so what are we doing to help people understand? So in this case, you have a provider who happens to be West African or East African or where, right? And they're also working with people with disabilities. Do we have the appropriate folks who understand the cultural significance and how this is done and how it's not? There are some out there that are getting it. And we provided last year, our committee, actually it was 2 years ago, started the conversation when Senator Abler had the committee, and then we have funded it last year, was to get folks that understood those differences in folks that are in Minnesota here. And so this just helps us through. There's another one in here too, Senator Pratt. There's a couple of other provisions in here too that also address that deep need. But yeah, this one's specific too. There should be an open grant process to that. So, and it will be.
Thank you.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Marty, and thank you, Senator Hoffman, for bringing this bill forward. It looks like you put a lot of work into it. I appreciate it. Important areas you're covering. One thing that I've done a lot in the committees I serve on is put in language for reporting on grants. So we have some baseline judgment of how successful all these grants that we give out for good causes, but kind of building on what Senator Pratt was talking about, we don't know how successful they are. So do you have anything in this bill, this 140-page bill, that requires any grant reporting? And we've adopted it on numerous bills that have come through our committee.
Mr. Chair, yeah, throughout there, if you look, like, for example, Article 8, Section 6, we do pad in there about the providing training curriculum rated to core, but we also do the reporting and program evaluation. We use those terms synonymously. What's the program outcomes? What's the evaluation in there? Which says to the department, I mean, this is human services speak, right? If we're going to do a program evaluation and we're going to report on it, what are those outcomes that we're going to look for? So we use that. If you look throughout the language within there, you'll see that kind of intertwined automatically in there. I hear you when you're, and I need to think about, would that fit across the spectrum of the Department of Human Services? It does in this sense, but if you have any ideas of looking at that, what should it maybe look differently? I don't know.
Chair Marty, I know we've had discussions on this before. I just urge you, as you're moving your bill forward, that maybe you could just think about that and maybe come up with some comfort language for me to add something. Otherwise, might have an amendment on the floor. I think, yourself knows this area better than anybody. And I think you could probably draft it better than me. But I think it's important, as we see our budget tightening up in the future, that we make sure we give the resources to the organizations that are doing the best work and reaching out. And I know not every subject area is the same. I realize that. But we need all the tools we can have to make those important decisions. So, thank you.
Senator Hoffman?
Yeah, no, Mr. Chair, I see where he's going with that. I like that. I mean, we have that kind of language already built in, but now you're asking, I'm going to go back to our committee and say, are we assuring that, this is across? And typically the answer is, in the work that we do, the only way you get more funding from the feds or do anything, the measurable outcomes kind of thing, that's just kind of natural for us. But I hear you, and that's actually a pretty good thing to look at. Where does this do it? I know in all the grants that are done, that are established, because a lot of it is, funding some of these organizations. I know the department, like we gave money to the Mayo on a couple of occasions, right? Oh my God, it's taken them 10 months. 10 months. We know the doctor that's doing it is going to, but it's been because of the conversation of what are the deliverable outcomes we're looking for. What did we want from a committee? And it's usually up to our committee. And you could ask anybody that sits on the Human Services Committee. I always throw it out to the committee and say, where do you guys want to go with this, right? So I like what he's saying there, Senator Marty. I think we're doing it, and actually I know we're doing it, but that causes us to ask the deeper question, is there really, really assurances that are how we're doing it, I think is where you're getting on that one. So I thank you for that suggestion.
And on that, Senator Draheim, I hope you and Senator Hoffman keep working on that, because it is, I think that a lot of that's happening, but we should make sure it's done in the most effective way. So are there further discussion or concerns or amendments? I want to highlight, Senator Hoffman, I wanted to say that I really appreciate your inclusion of the free communications for patients and clients. Senator Verbaten's efforts on that, I really appreciate your finding some funds to make that happen, so.
I need more.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman.
Mr. Chair, absolutely, and that one is a no-brainer because last year you passed it, but oops, you forgot about people with disabilities, and it's like, I love Verbaten when Senator Verbaten brought this forward. It's like, yeah, there's all these different people saying it's going to cost X, it's going to cost Y, but no, what's the services here? You know what, Senator Marty, this brings the argument to conference committee where it's the best people, we're going to have the department in there, and it's multi-jurisdictional, but thank you for looking at that, because I agree with you. To me, it's about leveling the playing field. You got people with disabilities, it's going to cost if you have a disability to make these calls, but if you're in a prison system, you get it for free. Yeah, I got a problem with that. So I appreciate you pointing that out, and I'm glad it was brought forward to me.
Thanks for including it.
Yeah.
Is there further discussion on Senate File 5335? If not, Senator Hoffman, final comments.
I do. You need to know these two people that are assigned to Human Services are probably, Liam Monahan and Kyle Raymond are absolutely beyond knowledgeable. I mean, they really know how the systems integrate and how things do, and it's just an honor to be able to have that. So the Senate has done a great job, the state of Minnesota, and you need to know that, Mr. Nauman, that you got some really good people working on some really sophisticated and tough stuff to understand. Human Services is not something you wake up in the morning and go, hey, I think I want to go do a tax equalization conversation, right? I mean, it's not like education. It's absolutely very tough stuff to be in because of all the different rules and stuff. And the department has been, but these two have really been pivotal in helping us understand which direction we need to go, policy and financial side. So I need you to know that, and I thank you for that, Mr. Chair.
And Senator Hoffman, I think you're right about that, especially because of the complexity of this, and especially with all the changes at the last minute. They jumped very quickly and got amazing work done when we didn't have all the fiscal notes. So thank you both. Is there further discussion on the bill? If not, Senator Friends moves that Senate File 5335 as amended be recommended to pass, and those who are on remote will ask you to have your cameras on if you're voting. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
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 Those opposed? The motion prevails. Thank you, Senator Hoffman and team.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you very much. Have a great day.
For the committee, just so you know, this is the end of the business for today's meeting. Next week we'll be meeting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and holding time on Thursday if necessary. Monday we're going to meet an hour after session in this room to hear the Human Services Forecast Adjustment, the Transportation Bill, I believe the Environment and Pensions bills as well. And so next week is going to be a busy week as well. So with that, this committee is adjourned, and hope everybody has a good weekend.